Okay, thank you. Talk to me, Cleveland. Although everybody's in various places, I still have to start my show off that way. This is your host, Kevin Chill Hurd. I'm bringing you this on behalf of my nonprofit, My Cool Solutions. This is still a Chill Talk product, a Chill Visions product, all things connected to the Chill platform in the Chillosphere. But today, we are talking about something very, very important, specifically to the Black community. It's been a topic of discussion all over the world, all over the United States, local and abroad. And what we like to do is talk about some of the things that we hear that we need to know, but get some experts in here to actually give us information from the medical field. And we have experts here. So, firstly, what I'd like to do is introduce, starting off with the doctors, and they can. I'll give a brief introduction, and they can talk a little bit about their medical background and why the topic of the Black community in response to the COVID-19 and the vaccine is an important discussion to have. So, first of all, we'd like to start with Dr. Leleka Doonquah.
Doonquah.
Doonquah? Man, I
Yes,
practiced that.
you did.
Got it right the first time. She is an internist and a infectious disease specialist in the Washington, D.C. area. Is there anything else we need to know, particularly about your background, what you do, and what do you feel is important about this specific topic to the Black community?
So most of what I do is infectious disease, specifically HIV. Um, but the vaccine, I'm telling all my patients, the vaccines are very important for everybody to get, as long as you don't have any kind of allergic reaction to um, any of the ingredients that's in the vaccine. Everybody should get the vaccine. So I'm telling all my patients, and I work in the community. Most
All right,
so
so you're in the D.C. area.
I'm in the DC area, exactly.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And we will definitely have questions for you. Until we get Dr. Bonita back, we'll go to Dr. Lynn Milliner. Dr. Milliner is staffed the Metro Health COVID hotline, so she's heard it all. And she currently is the medical director for the Cleveland Department of Public Health. Dr. Lynn Milliner, anything else you need to fill us in on your medical background and want to move forward to why this topic is of the utmost importance to the Black community, particularly.
So thank you first of all for having me on the show. I do appreciate the opportunity. Just like Leleka said, it's important to get the COVID vaccine. What we know is this takes us out more than it takes other groups out. This is one thing in our arsenal that can help prevent disease, because the last thing we want is for people to get COVID. The last thing we want on top of getting COVID is you having COVID with underlying health conditions that are already strikes against you. We need to have conversations. So yes, it's important that we tell you to get your vaccine, but we need to understand why you're not getting it. We can't, bribe you, force you, push you into doing something you're not comfortable with. But we want you to know that your healthcare providers are here to listen to you and talk about why you're hesitant to get the vaccine, because not everybody's reason is the same, right? So I think conversations like this are important, conversations with your providers and talking to people you trust and getting the right information, coming from people you trust is really going to help us turn this around.
All right, thank you. And also want to introduce my brothers, the guest moderators for this show. These, you might have heard me say earlier today, these brothers are tirelessly out here dealing with the public, dealing with the misinformation, uh, spreading news, and really kind of on the front lines in the community talking about scientific literacy, and real facts and processes and methodology, and telling people to cite sources and research and primary research. So these brothers are out here handling it every day. So first I want to introduce my brother, Eni Eret Shawn Kalfani. He's an author of several books as a part of the Kofi Pi-Side research team, also as a part of the mighty Mossy Warriors. Shawn, introduce yourself and kind of give us some information on why this subject, in particular, as it relates to the Black community, is important.
First, I want to say ETM Hotel. That's Welcome and Peace. My name is Shawn. I'd like to thank you, Chill, for having this show today. Also, I'd like to thank all the panelists, the doctors, for participating in this discussion and helping further the discussion, especially within our community, because they don't really get to hear your voices a lot, and I think it's important for your voices to be heard. I got into this because maybe 2019, we started talking about vaccines due to some conversations with people who, were on a kick of pushing fruits and vegetables as ways to, create some form of immunity within your body against, pathogens and so on and so forth. And people had misconceptions and understanding of vaccines. And it started out as a conversation about did, vaccines cause autism and how many vaccine deaths and so on and so forth. And that kind of picked up, what Brother Ankh kind of picked up through 2019, coming down the pipeline to the end of the year. And at the end of the year, like I said, Uncle get into what happened at the end of the year, but the misinformation continued to pile up. And we began to, have to fight a little bit harder and keep presenting information to people, and then have to go back and get a little bit more basic and talk about the immune system and how it works and so on and so forth, and what vaccines actually do. And then that transcended into, January. In January, we realized that there was a global pandemic taking shape. A virus, a pathogen, was actually running havoc, or we're gonna say virus in this instance, running havoc. And then it got us all the way through this particular point of the end of all 2020. And so the things that we were saying in 2019 came into fruition in 2020. And, and I felt like my responsibility as a researcher, is to make sure that our people get the correct information to make an informed decision, so that we're not sitting here saying, I'm not getting it because of Tuskegee, or I'm not getting it because of some misconceptions around Tuskegee and what took place, and just in the medical field altogether. So that's my piece on that. And man, thanks for having me. You're on mute, Chill.
Before I go to Ankh, I want to kick it back to Dr. Cole to get her to introduce herself. But I do want to say, man, these brothers, and we're going to get to Ankh, but Shawn and them do such a good job at kind of dispelling a lot of the myths and misinformation that they make me lazy. Normally, I'd have to go and start checking and going to all these places. I go and see if Shawn already did a show about it before I start doing all of that work. So I appreciate that, brother. Dr. Cole, can we at least hear you?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Most people, well, they can't recognize her now because they don't see her, but they are familiar. The Chill Talk audience is very familiar with Dr. Bonita Cole. She's our Chill Talk doctor. She's appeared actually in the studio with us. Well, she's sat in on all kinds of events with me, and she's been on this platform many times. She's a doctor of internal medicine, but I like to remind people that she also has a degree in human biology, which is very important to this topic. Dr. Cole, would you like to say anything else about your medical background? But please speak to the point of how important this discussion is about COVID-19 and the vaccine as it relates to the Black community.
So I take care of patients every day, and I have a lot of frustration because people are still not doing what they should be doing as far as not getting infected. And as we're going to talk about today, a lot of people still have a lot of frustration and reluctance about getting the vaccine.
Honestly,
It's frustrating for me as a physician because I'm taking care of people and they're so sick every day. And the more this pandemic goes on, the more people are going to be sick. And this vaccine is just about the only way that we have right now to not get sick and maybe even die from this virus. So I'm in the trenches.
All right, you out there. I know you are, because we talk on a semi-regular basis, and I understand what you're going through. I like to now take this to Brother Ankh West, Brother Ankh Keck. Brother Ankh is OG out here in the streets, on the internet, on social media, urging, pleading, begging our people to become scientifically literate. Uh, he's been at the forefront of getting this information out when people weren't doing this from a scientific perspective. And he can say it when he introduces himself, not that he's a doctor, but this brother is one of the originators of what has now become people trying to be scientifically literate or know that such things exist out here, at least in social media, with real information. But I'll let Brother Ankh introduce himself further and talk to us about why this conversation that we're having is important.
How you doing, family, Black African Power, and peace to the intelligent panel that is assembled. And I like to just give thanks specifically to the sisterhood. It proves that intelligence starts at home with the sisterhood. So I really appreciate that. And my name is Brother Ankh, and it's always been my vision to get the people ready for times like this, right? The education they just wouldn't necessarily get in school. I always wanted to bring college level doctorate information to the people with a street type of flair, but they would just be able to understand and comprehend it. And so we're in this time now where it's time to get to the experts. And so my life journey and work has been based off of getting the people mind ready to deal with the experts. And so it's been my thing to teach scientific literacy. When I brought it to the community, I was like, man, they're going to appreciate that. They literally threw tomatoes at me. So I had to develop groups upon groups of study teams of scientific literacy. And we've been on it so much that we had a debate against the largest anti-vax community in the world, funded by John F. Kennedy and the boys, Jr. Okay, so we dealt with them. We dealt with the anti-vaxxers when the scientists and the doctors were saying, well, we ain't got time to mess with that crap. Now we see what it is. And I'm glad that the doctors and the scientists could join us in this fight to liberate our people from ignorance. This is a war on ignorance and not understanding what's going on around us in our natural world. And for me, science is the best tool to understand our natural world. That's what it is. You know what it is, Chill. I'm all in.
Brother Ankh. All right. Now we're gonna because Dr. Leleka has things to do, but she has a world to save. But we do want to get right to her with some questions. And what I'm really gonna do is turn these questions that Shawn and Ankh have, that they themselves want to kind of put out there, questions that already people have been asking in the chat. while we have this sister here, who is a specialist of infectious disease, to kind of run some things by her. So, Ankh and Shawn, I'm going to turn this over to you guys and let you handle the questioning and getting some information from this sister while we have her.
Okay. You want me to ask that first question, Shawn?
Feel free.
All right. Okay. I don't want to miss. Doonquah, Dr. Doonquah. Did I say that right?
You said it right.
Oh, man. Might not be able to do it twice. So here's the point. Do you agree or disagree with this statement? Like climate change, vaccine science is settled by all conceivable logic. A medicine that prevents disease outright rather than treating symptoms should be universally embraced. What say you? Should the Black community accept vaccines based off of the fact that it's been settled in science?
Absolutely. Especially with this vaccine, the COVID vaccine. It's the two that are approved, that are on the market, is a relatively new technology, but it's not that new. And it's been well studied. They started research back in the 90s on the technology, and the actual human studies that they were doing for this vaccine, or the technology for this vaccine, was being studied in cancer patients. And so some of the misconception is that, it came out too quickly. And so people should go ahead and trust the science and go ahead and get the vaccine.
So I heard you say people should trust the science. So you're not actually asking us to trust white people, are you?
No.
Can you kind of expound on that a little bit? Why? Because that seems to be an issue. It's the white people thing. We don't trust the white people. What's the difference?
Well, I mean, everybody is concerned about Tuskegee, number one. We're concerned about Tuskegee as a culture. The difference here is that we're involved in the studies. Our people are involved in the studies. We're part of the development. We're part of it's being monitored. So there should be no concern about anything that's untoward going on. So we shouldn't be concerned about it not being legitimate data.
Okay.
Can I really quick? I just want to jump in and ask Dr. Leleka, could she move herself up a little bit more in the shot? She might want to move the camera down, or
the camera. Let me see.
There you go. Center yourself. There we go. All right, go ahead, guys.
Yeah, but looked like I was short.
Shawn.
Okay, I'm gonna ask one of Chavis' questions that he's been trying to get answered. He wanted an intelligent answer on this. Well, he really wants to know if we could break down the autoimmunity and any concerns with the mRNA vaccine.
So a lot of people are concerned about the mRNA vaccine for a number of different reasons. Some people think that it's a live virus, and it's not, and that they're putting the virus into you, and there's no virus particles at all. It's a protein that is put into the system, and it's basically it's a protein that's put into the system to trick the system into thinking that the virus is in the body, and for it to mount a response to the protein that's put into the system. So it's actually not alive. It's nothing live about it. It's not a live virus. It's not a part of a virus. and it's not something that's going to go into your system and change the DNA. It's an RNA, so it's a completely different technology for virus compared to what's been done before.
All right. I said I wasn't going to do this, but I do want to jump in and piggyback off that question, especially because he asked about the autoimmune. And I know, Doc, you also work heavily in the AIDS, HIV community. And I do know recently that something came up about the vaccine giving, was it false positives of people checking into the HIV. Do you know anything about that, and can you speak on that as well as his question about the autoimmune system?
So I'm not sure I understand what the question is about autoimmunity. What is the question asking, or the person asking? What are they asking about?
Shawn, you may want to help out on that one.
All right, so hold on. Give me a second here. Well, I'm doing
one of the fake questions.
But as far as the other thing, that while you're looking that up, I can answer the question about false positive from the vaccine. A lot of people who have gotten involved in clinical trials for different viruses and get the vaccine sometimes can have a false positive HIV test. But it's usually if they're involved in HIV vaccines, not this vaccine.
Okay. Now with basically with autoimmunity, he's referring to the risk. People who have autoimmune disease, is there an increased risk factor for them receiving the mRNA vaccine? Will this trigger an autoimmune response that will cause serious conditions? Is it life-threatening for them? Should they not get vaccinated? You know, is there some type of personal risk for them to stay away from the vaccine?
So for people who have autoimmune disease, so the issue is it's not going to trigger an autoimmune response for the autoimmune condition. The big issue is for those people who have severe allergic reaction. And so usually so it hasn't really been studied that well in patients with their autoimmune conditions. And so for some of those people, we say wait for more studies, wait for them to get more data on people with chronic medical conditions with poor immune system, because it hasn't been studied, because most of the studies have been in relatively, we say, normal immune systems. So usually they're not saying with poor immune system, go ahead and take the medication. For our people who are HIV positive, most of the patients who are getting vaccinated are patients with relatively normal functioning immune system because of medication. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that properly.
Yeah, I got it. I understand that.
Yeah, I understand that. Okay.
Yeah, I got you. All right. Here's from Lee Taylor. This is my favorite anti-vaxxer. And I know he didn't do some tricks in the question. You're gonna say, huh? Watch. So he says, and this might not even be true, right? I don't think it is, but why he says, since it's proven in animal trials that the mRNA vaccine can go to the brain, what proof they got it won't cause neurological damage? So he hit you with the trick question, like it actually can go to it. But go ahead, Doc. I'm gonna let you. See, we normally spend an hour fighting. We have you in the rabbit hole. But go ahead.
So, like I said before, it's not a live virus. There's nothing living about it. It's tricking the body to think that there's something that for it to recognize a viral particle so it can develop antibodies to start fighting against the virus.
So it's nothing to go to the brain.
There's
That's
nothing
the
to go
point.
to the brain. There's
See?
nothing to go to the brain.
See how simple. See, and they think they're asking complicated questions, but if you understand the virus, like you say, it's nothing to go to the brain.
There's nothing to go to the brain.
See, that's funny, but he'll have the whole Facebook world. Oh, I told you. See what I'm saying? We're gonna get brain damage from the vaccine. See, that's the game they play with us. Anyway. Go ahead, Shawn.
Another question off the Zoom chat is, can you explain what happens when someone who is asymptomatic gets I believe it's what he's saying, someone who's asymptomatic gets the vaccine? So I guess they're asking, well, they're posing it to say, is it safe for them? Well, should asymptomatic people get the vaccine? And, will that help increase immunity or something like that along those lines?
So the recommendation right now is that even if you've had COVID, you're also supposed to still go ahead and get the vaccine because we don't know how long the immunity is going to last. The immunity from having COVID. And so same thing, if you're an asymptomatic person, you tested a positive or had antibodies, and we don't know how long the antibodies are going to last for. Or you tested positive and you never had symptoms, we don't know how long your antibodies are going to last. And antibodies are supposed to be protective. And so the recommendation is if you were an asymptomatic person who had COVID, still get the vaccine. If you had COVID and you were symptomatic, once you've recovered, still get the vaccine because we don't know how long the immunity is going to last. And that's the issue.
Let's get in about 2 or 3 more questions with Dr. Leleka. And you see I'm staying away from that last name.
Doonquah. How about that? Doonquah.
Doonquah. Couple more questions for Dr.
Okay, I got one.
And they don't have to be from the they don't all have to come from the chat right now. They can be from you.
I got a statement from a trusted leader in our community, Dr. Wesson from the Nation of Islam. And I want to know, is there any credence in this? He says, white racists got together and came into the Black community and gave us COVID-19. This is from the Nation of Islam, one of their leaders, Dr. Wesson Muhammad. This is one of the male leaders that I'm talking about. Is there any credence to that? Now, he's not a medical doctor. He has like a doctor probably in full, no, I'm joking. But he probably has a doctorate in like Scott, I don't know. But he's not a virologist. He doesn't deal with infectious disease. So is there any credence to that? Because he's telling 10 to 50,000 people that's in the Nation of Islam, he's standing there on the podium, proud like, and he's telling them that. What say you, Doc?
Absolutely wrong.
Wow.
Absolutely wrong. I mean, there's no truth to that.
It's ridiculous, huh?
No truth to that at all.
I want to add to that, so just to spice it up a little bit. Like they just got permission to go in and do independent, full independent research on, the virus, how did it start, where did it come from, all of these things. They like literally got permission to do what needs to be done centered around that lab. So if they just got permission to do more research, remember they already sent investigators over there once. They sent investigators over there again. This is to the laboratory now. So for him to come out of his face and say that, I just felt like, and being a leader in the Black community and being a member of the Nation of Islam, that was very disingenuous for him to do that. That's a setback because there's going to be thousands of people, or millions, being that it's a Nation of Islam, that will hear him and assume that he's accurate.
Okay, I got one for you. You in the community, And you've seen all type of quack cures and people thinking they could do this based off the fact it's a pandemic and people aren't that stable during this time. So do you know of any food, any herbs and spices, cereals, any type of meditation, anything that can protect you from the virus, from the SARS-CoV virus, coronavirus too?
You mean social distancing, wearing a face mask, washing your hands?
That's the answer, huh?
Yeah, that's the proven answer.
So no food.
It's been proven, and it's been proven.
Mm.
If you stay away, you practice social distancing, you wear a face covering, you wash your hands. I see Dr. Cole upside down.
She got the camera work.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got you. So basically what you're saying is washing your hands.
Go ahead, Ankh.
Distancing.
Yes.
Okay, wearing the face covering.
Yes.
That's been proven and tested. But
yes.
Food and superfood and vitamins and all that, that's not gonna stop.
It's not gonna stop you from getting it. No.
But we've been doing that for thousands of years in Africa. How you figure that? Why stop working now? I'm just being facetious.
I realized that. I realized that. Yeah, so we have a new virus that's easily transmitted. This is very easy. It's very infectious. Having a boosted immune system is still not going to prevent you from getting it, because it's spread in the air through droplets.
Air droplets. Okay. All right.
I wanted
to hold on, chill real quick. So you said face coverings, social distancing. Could that also be the reason why flu transmission is down?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, what I wanted to do, because I saw Dr. Cole, and I know we deal with this question all the time, because, all the times she's been on my show, I asked Dr. Cole that same question. Every time somebody, back when it was boiling garlic, lemon water, gargling with Lysol, hydroxychloroquine, moss, seaweed. Now my new absolute favorite, the spicy goat soup. And that's my new favorite. And Dr. Cole just keeps going, no. I'm gonna ask her again while she's on here that same question we just asked Dr. Doonquah. Doc, is it some leaf, herb, black seed oil, a box of rocks, something that can build those antibodies and boost our immune system to defeat the COVID? Is it a leaf, a plant, something?
No.
No, and no.
That's all she. Maybe Dr. Milliner knows a leaf, a plant.
No.
Okay.
Chill.
Are you saying the radio?
Chill. Are you saying the radio and his compadres were just wrong?
I am not.
Like they're not even these sisters are doctors, meaning they're trained. They understand biology, the whole 9 yards. So you mean radio?
Stereo.
Come on, man. That man's name is Stereo. Don't start that.
So we're gonna call him radio. We ain't gonna call him stereo. I'm gonna call him stereo radio misinformation. He came on here and just blasted us, trying to convince us of something that these well-organized doctors that are studied and trained for at least 8 years and said subject matter, he just came and defeated them. How could that be? That's the problem with the community. They're defeating doctors from their house. That's interesting, man.
All right, now you made me, at some point in time today, I'm gonna have to let that man get in here and speak for himself, just the journalist in me. But couple more questions, maybe 2 more questions while we have Dr. Doonquah on
See,
here.
got it. Yep.
There we go. And
You
then
got
we'll
it.
go to Dr. Cole.
Okay, I got you. This will be two easy ones. From our question number 3 is, do you know what the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is made of and why it's only requiring 1 shot? And then I'll let you answer that first.
Yeah, so the Johnson & Johnson one, it's not based on what they've done so far, and it's just starting phase 3. Is just starting phase 3, and when they pulled the information in phase 1 and phase 2, the early parts, they found that people had developed immunity, the antibodies, after just getting one shot of the virus. I mean, 1 shot of the vaccine, correction. And so this vaccine, as far as I know, is what they call a translational vaccine, and it's a little different than the mRNA technology that the 2 ones that's out is using. So it's a little different technology.
Different
And it's,
platform. I got you.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So why is it after we take the vaccine, we still got social distance, wash our hands and wear a mask?
Not protected
We're gonna catch a fever, we're gonna get all that. So for us it seems like, man, we might as well just get the coronavirus. We got to do all that. Why vaccine if we got to do the same thing we've been doing prior to the vaccine, Doc? Please help me out with that.
So basically, the whole point of the vaccine is we're trying to get, they call herd immunity, so that they can have enough people in the community with antibodies so that
people will get it.
It can be, I guess, eradicated, or that's why we have to continue doing that until enough people are vaccinated. So that's why they're trying to get as many people vaccinated so that we can have basically immunity in the community, so herd immunity through vaccination.
It doesn't stop the spread of disease, basically?
Yes.
I think, ain't that the question, Shawn?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that's complicated. Why doesn't it stop the spread of disease? Like, that's kind of complicated.
Say it again.
Am I asking that question?
Like, now it's, well, okay. So the question is, once you receive the vaccination, will it stop a person from infection and or spreading the disease?
Correct.
Say it again.
Yeah, that's
all
correct.
right. Once you receive the vaccination, will it stop a person from
spreading and spreading?
Yeah. Help us out. Don't be quiet. Help us out here.
If you receive the vaccine, can you still spread it?
It's the same question over and over. Some people are hearing that they still can be infectious and still can spread.
So, that's the tricky part.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the tricky part, right? So, Lynn, you want to jump in?
So you can initially still spread. Now, you are not getting the virus once you get the vaccine. So we got to make that clear. It's not injecting COVID into you, right? So you can't spread it by getting the vaccine. However, you're not protected. It's not like a light switch. So the day you get your vaccine doesn't mean you can stop wearing your mask and distancing, because the immunity doesn't kick in for a couple of weeks up to a month, right? So you can be protected with the shot and still get COVID after your shot if you decide, I'm not going to mask, I'm not going to distance, I'm not going to wash my hands, and I'm going to go to the wedding and the funeral, and I'm going to have some barbecue and hang out with my friends, and somebody in there has COVID, you get it, and you're thinking, I got the shot for nothing, which is not accurate. You just aren't protected against it yet. And her whole point to everybody getting it is once enough people either get the vaccine or get the disease, and that's not what we want, because a lot more people will get sick. to Dr. Cole's point, a lot more people will die. When we have enough with antibodies, then we can stop the spread, stop the shed. We can't stop that right now because not enough of us have antibodies and not enough of us have the shot. So that's why it's important for as many people as possible to get the shot, because everybody's not going to do the right thing.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Okay, what I
So
like to do. Go
basically,
ahead, go
so
ahead, Dr. Doonquah.
basically, I've actually known a few people who actually ended up getting COVID after the first dose because they had
Bad timing.
right, it's bad timing. They didn't get the second dose, and even after the second dose, depending on which one it is, you still have to wait, about 2 weeks after for you to have your immunity developed to say, okay, I'm now protected about 94 to 95% of the time, depending on which vaccine you've gotten.
Okay, I want to piggyback on that. So, Dr. Doonquah, so you're saying that if I get the shot, that the next day I can't go out to super spreader events like I'm Superman.
No.
And then when I mess around and find out that I got COVID, I'm gonna say, man, the shot is a mess. It's fake.
No.
Okay.
No, you can't do that. Can't do that. You have to wait until after your second shot, and even after the second shot, you still have to wait about 14 days afterwards.
Okay. Last question for Dr. Doonquah. I'm getting good at that name.
Yes, you are.
We're gonna go to Dr. Cole's presentation. Last question for the infectious disease specialist.
This one is what are the known adverse side effects, and does the benefits outweigh the risk, since we're talking about infectious diseases?
The benefits absolutely outweigh the risk. We know getting the vaccine, completing the vaccine, will prevent you from getting COVID. Once you've completed the series, it's 95%, 94% effective. On the other side, we know, we've seen all the data. Every day you look on TV, you see all the risk. You get COVID. There are several people who've gotten it, survived. They don't have the adverse outcome, but then there are those people who had the severe adverse outcome. Of course, the worst case is death. But then there are other people who don't have death. We have people who still have loss of taste, loss of smell, months out. People still have respiratory issues.
Long-term COVID?
Say it again?
Long-term COVID?
Yeah, long-term COVID. You have people with COVID, just the long haulers, just having symptoms, just ongoing. So yeah. Blood clots, that's caused different issues for a lot of people down the line. So yeah.
Hey, Chill, let me ask this last one. So say I just got my vaccine, and now I'm about 2 weeks in, and the antibodies start to kick in, but I catch COVID. Will that help lessen some of the symptoms? Will that kind of still afford me some protection? You know what I'm saying?
That's the theory, is that it should still, you should have a milder version of it, right?
Like the flu, like the flu shot. It might not be the exact one, yes. but it'll give you some coverage. Yep. Yes. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yep. We solid right here with that. That's some good answers to the questions.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank Dr. Leleka Doonquah.
All right, you got it.
I got a little fancy with it too. For joining us, and she can hang out as long as she wants to after this.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. I was just going to say, but if you want to say anything in closing.
Get the vaccine. Everybody who is listening, watching on this, get the vaccine, get the vaccine, get the vaccine.
All right. Thank you very much, Doc.
All right.
All right. The Chill Talk Doctor, as Uncle say, on deck, Dr. Bonita Cole. Doc Bose, okay, let me see. I see you have your camera working. You got a fire cracking in the background. You ready to rock. So what do you have for us, and what do you think so far?
So you want me to go through the slides?
Do what you want to do, Doc. Let us know what you're getting ready to do.
Some of the stuff that's on the slides you guys already covered in your questions, but it may help to see it in words. I got some pictures to show people. So maybe that may help solidify and push people over to the other side to decide to get the vaccine when it's available. How about that?
Let's go for it, Doc.
All right. You gotta enable my ability to share my screen.
Audrey, I thought I already did, but Audrey, Tech Diva. I thought I already did do that.
Sleep. She done went to sleep on you.
You know, it's her birthday.
It's ain't that.
All right, Tech Diva, I don't know if you're on there, but go ahead.
Oh yeah, I'm here. I just gave her access.
All right,
I'm coming for you, Aunt.
There we go. There we go. Come on. There we go. All right. How you like that? So, of course, I have to have a disclaimer that all the information that I'm giving you is good information. However, you should talk with your doctor and get medical advice about anything that I'm telling you today. So you guys, Dr. Doonquah already went over how the COVID vaccine works. It's an mRNA virus. And the whole point of the mRNA virus is to help your body efficiently make antibodies against the virus. And the one thing people have a lot of concerns about is how fast the vaccine was produced, but this vaccine has gone through the same rigorous trials as any other type of vaccine that's been made. So here's a picture. Maybe this will help people understand how the virus works. So, sorry, how the vaccine works. So I did look up the ingredients of both vaccines, and believe it or not, it's really 3 ingredients. There's the mRNA, there's lipid or fat particles around it, and the vaccine is stabilized by sugar. So it's really 3 components: the mRNA, fat, and sugar. That's all that's in it. And what it does is the vaccine goes into the cytoplasm or the fluid part of your cell, and the mRNA is put into your cell, but not inside the nucleus where your DNA is. And it teaches your cells how to make this spike protein. And then the cell puts the spike protein on the outside of it, and then your body starts to make antibodies to it. And these antibodies is what protects you when your body actually sees the real virus. And actually, what we think is the immunity that you get from the vaccine is actually more immunity than if you've had the infection yourself. So the vaccine teaches your body how to make that spike protein, and that's what triggers their immune response. We already went over that these vaccines do not cause COVID-19. It cannot. It's only a small piece of the spike protein that your body is making. The vaccine doesn't change your DNA. And as soon as your body makes the antibodies, your body gets rid of the mRNA, so you don't even keep that part of it. So the two currently available vaccines we have in this country are one from Pfizer and Moderna. You guys already went over that both of them are 2 injections. I actually had my first injection of the Moderna vaccine last Saturday. Felt kind of tired, felt kind of achy, but all those symptoms went away in 48 hours. It's actually less side effects with an mRNA virus because you're only getting that spike protein part versus the traditional way to make a vaccine where you actually have a larger piece of the virus and your body has more of an immune response. So people probably are going to have less side effects after getting the vaccine than maybe what you would get with a flu shot. So the question that I think is more important than should you convincing people to get the vaccine, I think the most important question is why you don't want to get COVID-19 infection. We have no cure. We only have experimental treatments. And just like we just talked about, we don't know the full spectrum of the long-term complications of this infection. I have patients now who've had symptoms with their breathing. They don't feel right. They can't think right. They can't go back to work. And it's been months at this time. And there's nothing that we can do about it. If you don't know, when you get infected, you must be isolated at home for 14 days. If you can stay at home. If you get sick enough where you're short of breath, you may have to go to the hospital. You may end up in the ICU or worse for a prolonged period of time. If you get infected, you're in the hospital, you can't have visitors, you're isolated in your treatment room, and you talked about already the serious complications of the infection, blood clots in the lungs, severe pneumonia. I have 2 patients of mine this week who have COVID-19 pneumonia. Serious complications, and obviously we know how many hundreds of thousands of people have already died from this infection. Prolonged breathing problems, and the fact that you can infect your family members. I have so many patients, a whole family is wiped out. And if you got uncontrolled diabetes, uncontrolled blood pressure, you know you're not eating right, you're not taking your blood pressure pills, you're not checking your blood pressure, you're not checking your blood sugar, you're on prednisone, you have autoimmune disorders, if you have underlying conditions, and obesity is one of them. People who are obese have more problems with this infection. So a lot of people have chronic conditions where it does not go well with this virus. So people are saying, oh, I'm not going to get the vaccine, I'm going to wait it out. But that is not a good choice, because as more time goes on, you're going to be less and less able to hide from this infection. It's very prevalent in the community. As of looking at the CDC website, as of January 4th, 2 people in this country are dying every minute from this infection. So no, you can't be so perfect in your trying to avoid the infection. I like to think of this virus as a burglar waiting to break into your house. The minute you touch your face one time, that one time you don't wash your hands, that one time that you don't have your mask on, this virus is waiting to sneak in and break in and invade and evade your immune system. That's why having the vaccine is so important, because the more times goes on, the more prevalent the infection is in the community, and it's going to be harder and harder to avoid this virus. Like I said, the infection is wiping out whole families. We already talked about that. Even though these 2 mRNA vaccines are new, mRNA technology has been around for at least 10, 15, 20 years. So it's really not new technology. And remember, whether you get the vaccine or not, your tax dollars are paying for this vaccine. And so the reason why it was able to be distributed to the public so fast is because what I have on this slide, it's kind of busy, but if you focus at the bottom, instead of the traditional way of making the vaccine where you go through all the phases of the trials, then you start manufacturing. What your tax dollars paid for is for Pfizer and Moderna to start large-scale manufacturing while the trials were going on. So it's a big risk to take for the companies to do this, because what if it doesn't work? But in the middle of a pandemic, what choice do you have? Fortunately, they both work. This technology has been around for a while, so it's not like they have to start from scratch to make these vaccines. So when the trials are finished, you already have a large volume of vaccine that's ready to go when the FDA says, okay, you can use this vaccine for emergency use authorization. And one thing you have to know is all these COVID-19 tests that we're using, those are still not fully licensed either. They're still under emergency use authorization. So for everyone who's gotten a COVID-19 test, that's not licensed either. But in the middle of a pandemic, you got to go. You can't wait. So don't make a decision to not get this vaccine because you're going to harm yourself based on other sins of others in the past, historical wrongs. We all know that they've happened. They're still happening, but you're going to miss an opportunity. Despite past transgressions against us, the COVID-19 vaccine process is just not one of them. So making the decision to get the vaccine or not, I encourage everyone to make the decision based on science, not emotion. The National Medical Association, which is the national organization for Black doctors that's been around since 1895, they convened their own COVID-19 task force on vaccines, and you can go on their website. And they have also said that they recommend that people get this vaccine. They did their own evaluation of all the studies independently. And the point of all this is to say that this is the national organization of Black doctors in this country, and they say and recommend that people get the vaccine. So that is the end of my presentation. So I think I covered a few other things that maybe you guys did not talk about. I hope I answered some more questions that people have.
Dr. Cole, bringing
fire.
that fire.
It was fire.
Ankh, Shawn.
What was that last thing she said? What was the organization you said you can go online? That's the Black Doctors. Did she say that?
I have it, NMANET.org. National Medical Association.
Wasn't asking you, Shawn. I don't believe you. I'm asking about that expert. Yeah, that's the video you had, right, Shawn?
No, I went to I went to blackdoctors.org.
Oh, okay. All right.
No,
It's the National Medical Association. There it is. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yep. I got it already.
That should end it then. That should end all discussions. All Black people should go get it since it's based off of color. We should be good then. Because it wasn't the decision never was based off of science. It was based off of the white man is gonna kill us. So now we got some Black doctors. Okay. It's over with. Mm-hmm.
Ankh, any follow-up or Shawn, any follow-up off of what Dr. Cole, that Dr. Cole heat she just brought, or any follow-up questions to her?
No, just I think she did a good job. I mean, like she said, I like the way she ended it. follow the science. That's one thing that we continue to talk about. Let me turn my camera. Is following the science. How we want to make sure that we take the people out of the equation. Trust the science, not the people. No matter what color they are, all kind of people lie. So a lie doesn't have a color to it. Misinformation doesn't have a color to it. So we need to make sure that we're on point. So in Dr. Cole, in your presentation, you were talking about the technology and how long it's been around and how it's used. And you showed a slide where an image of the needle going into the injection site, which would be the upper arm in the muscle area, and it going in, and then you said that it would not penetrate you didn't specifically say it. You said it would not alter your DNA. How would you know that it would not alter your DNA if it enters the injection site at the arm and that long needle can travel and get into the nucleus of your cell membrane?
So cells are very, very small. A needle can't go into the nucleus of a cell like that. It doesn't really work like that. The needle is going into your muscle. The vaccine is going into your muscle, and the cells take up the vaccine and the mRNA and do what it's supposed to do. So putting the needle in your arm is not going to penetrate the nucleus of a cell in such a way that it's going to affect your DNA.
It worked like that on Facebook though, Doc. That nanotechnology gonna get shooting in that cell. On Facebook, that's what they say.
Nope, fortunately not.
They said that they're putting a chip in the vaccine and that they're going to use it to generate Bitcoin, and that's how they're going to be able to not only monitor you for a lifetime, but they're going to make Bitcoin money off of you too because of this vaccine. So are you telling us that, we're getting chipped now?
It's 3 things in this vaccine: mRNA, fat, and sugar.
Crazy.
And the nano chip.
Nope.
According to Stereo, because I'm sure that's what he's gonna come on here with.
See, y'all just gonna keep saying that man's name. You're gonna have to make me bring Stereo on here.
Yeah, bring Stereo on and let him bring his ideas into the scientific environment. But sis, doctor, I really appreciated your presentation. It was very clear and concise, and we need more of that. And I just appreciated that y'all taking time out of y'all busy day, and I think it's just valuable to continue to have an ongoing relationship with the experts. This is not the time. This is not pre-pandemic. We're in the middle of a pandemic. This is the job for the experts. I was dope. Shawn was super cool. Chill was all the way live prior to the daggone pandemic. But once you get in the pandemic, man, you got to rely on the experts. You know what I'm saying? Your preacher was super dope prior to the pandemic. Minister Farrakhan, super duper guy. Appreciate him before the pandemic. But once you get into the pandemic, we rely on the real heroes, the doctors, trusted sisters. And so you the real hero. All y'all yep. Real heroes in the struggle. Seriously. The experts. Simple as that. No one's going to overturn the experts from the seat of their chair while they type on Facebook. They think they can, none of them. So I just, that's a thing right there, that we can overthrow these doctors from the seat of our chair. And I just appreciate y'all.
Okay, what? Go ahead, Shawn.
No, I do want to thank Dr. Cole for her presentation again, because basically everything that you reiterated in your presentation are things that we've actually made a habit out of trying to educate the people. The problem is our reach. We're not reaching enough people to properly educate them, but we're trying to work on making sure that we're getting it out, because we use we use 3 different YouTube channels to try to get information out, the right information out, because we're in an information battle right now for the hearts of our people specifically. And I think that, like having Chill and the Pseudo Killers and the Master Warrior Clan and Kofi Pi research team, cohesive efforts on trying to educate the people, and then having y'all come on just reiterates all of that, because they don't see Black doctors. And it seems like if it's a white doctor, that the information is going to be wrong or subjected to some type of further scrutiny because it's coming from somebody whose phenotype is different than ours.
All right, Dr. Cole, you want to say, and I want you to still hang out with us to answer some more questions, but just something that you want to say in closing to your presentation. And then I want to bring Dr. Milliner in for a second. So Bonita, anything to wrap up your presentation?
Honestly, this is what I have to say. We always talking about being disenfranchised, being left out. This is what I gotta tell people. You do not want to be left off this bus. This bus is going. Either you gonna get on the bus or you gonna be left out. Don't miss your chance to get this vaccine, because I just heard on the radio, I don't know how true it is, but our federal government in all its infinite wisdom may not have bought enough for a lot of people to get their second injection.
Man.
It's true. It's true. They had a shortage on the original amount because Trump, he only signed a bill to get so many, and now these people are up to get their second dose, and they got to rely on that. So Moderna and Pfizer is right now. They came out and stated that they're cutting back from sending vaccines to the UK now. So that's the adjustment that Moderna and Pfizer is making, is not sending stuff overseas to the UK so that they could take care of whatever obligations here in America that has to happen.
That ain't fair. The whole world is trying to, it's like, don't get left out. You're going to have your lip poked out or you won't be here. One or the other.
Oh, man.
Hey, like when they kicked when they kicked David Ruffin out of the Temptations. He Otis told him he was out. He looked at Blue. He said, "Blue, you agreeing with this?" Blue said, "David, I love you, but I'm gonna miss you." Get that shot is what the doc is saying. What I want to do now, and please, Dr. Cole, stay around, is bring Dr. Milliner in. Please talk to us about the things that you have to hear to deal with because you're there on the hotline. People are calling. I don't know how many calls do you get a day, a week, a month, and what are the things you have to hear of you're the direct contact of
that first contact.
First contact. Talk to us.
So just a little background: the COVID hotline at Metro started in March. And I think it was a way to get people plugged in and get them tested and get their questions answered about COVID. So we started it in March. It was just supposed to be a way to kill some time, make a little money, get some calls in. Between March and now, I've taken, it's probably 4,000 or 5,000 calls, just myself. We're averaging now 200 calls a day among 10 physicians, and I'm on that line every day. I will tell you what I've learned from those calls is people are afraid of getting COVID and people are afraid of dying from COVID, but not afraid enough to do what we said to do all along. So they're not afraid to not go to the wedding, to the funeral, to the family gathering, to have Christmas to have New Year's when we keep preaching to the choir saying, don't do it, don't go out, don't go to the store, and the whole family going to the store, don't go to the party, don't go to the club, don't go to the bar, and people still do it. And then when they call the hotline, scared because they live with somebody that's 90 years old, or they're scared that their child has asthma, and now you have COVID, and now you're worried because you didn't do what you were supposed to do. And Dr. Cole is exactly right. It really takes every opportunity. You can be the most careful person in the world, but it's that one time. They all call up and say, oh, I was careful. I haven't gone out this whole time, but my friend came in from out of town and we were kicking it. Well, guess what? And then your friend gets back home and calls you and say, guess what, girl? I got to tell you, I got COVID too. Right. So it is a thief in the night. I tell everybody, I treat everybody around me like they have COVID. I treat other people like they have COVID. I wear a mask in my house because I don't know necessarily where people go when they go out. And I'm like Dr. Cole, I still see patients. I can't take that to my patients. And I don't want to bring that home to my family. People have to think outside of themselves. You know, you got to think if you got a baby, nobody should be around your baby. Nobody should be kissing your baby, looking at your baby, touching your baby. But we let people do that because we are so concerned about being social and connecting that we don't think for 1 minute, you know, and it's not just when this came out, remember, all you said COVID just affected old people, right? So if you were over 65, if you had a chronic health condition, then you were the ones that were going to get it. But every day you look on the news, somebody that's 29 years old is dying from COVID. So it's not just older people now. Young people get it too. And we don't really understand, but we know that COVID doesn't care about your plans. It doesn't care about your friends. It doesn't care about your trips. Doesn't care about your emotions. It affects everybody. It is the thief that doesn't discriminate against anybody or anyone, right? And now that there's a vaccine, there's a whole lot of people that don't want to get it for a lot of reasons. So I'm gonna wait for a year. Like Dr. Cole said, you're gonna miss that bus, right? Because everybody's frustrated now because you can't just walk into the Rite Aid and get your COVID shot like you pick up everything else, right? So if you miss that opportunity the first time, they're really not going to come back around and say like, oh, guess what? We got some extra. Here, it's time to get yours. You got to get it, and you got to get it up front. And then you still have to do the right thing. So if you can't get it or decide not to do it, it doesn't give you a pass.
Wow.
And
And I want,
can I,
go ahead, handle it.
real quick, I wanted to ask you a question, Dr. Milliner. Have you paid attention to what took place today in New York regarding some vaccine information?
I did not.
Okay, so today some type of announcement went out about extra vaccine shots at a specific location. They had a line that went around a block of people sitting outside of a building trying to get a vaccine shot at a place that didn't even have no more vaccines to give anyone.
So I will tell you the biggest frustration has been, and not to get all into politics and talk about the person that can't get out of the house fast enough. The whole point, what he tried to do for his legacy was get the vaccine out, right? So he got a vaccine out. But once he got it out, he said, okay, well, I got a vaccine. I'm gonna just give it to all the states and y'all figure it out. You can't do that, right? There was no oversight. There was no guidance. You send it to the state. And I will tell you, we have 50 states in this country. I bet every 50 state is doing everything different, right? So just what we do in Ohio is not how the vaccine may roll out in other states. Yeah, we try to do the 1A, the 1B, the 1C. We can't get through 1A, and now Governor DeWine has added 1B and 1C. So now you got frontline people that can't get their vaccine. Now we got to do the 85-year-olds, and then we're gonna add the 80-year-olds, and then we're gonna add the school teachers. And you're basing that on, oh, I'm gonna get a shipment of vaccine. I don't know when, I don't know how many, but yeah, I'm gonna just add more people to it. And people are frustrated and people are scared, right? So, and just to your point, if you tell me I'm expecting a shipment, so let's say I plan for, 400 doses of vaccine, I get 200. Now what I'm gonna do? Right? And you can't react fast enough to stay on top of that. So there has to be better oversight. I'm hoping that the changing of the guard is going to make that happen, because right now it's not happening. Everybody's trying to, we're off to ourselves trying to figure it out. As states get more vaccine, more providers are signing up to get vaccines. That means everybody's piece of that pie is going to get smaller. So, right, so if you go to UH Metro Cleveland Clinic and now all of a sudden Rite Aid, Walgreens, CVS can do it, that means less for everybody else to divide up, right? So it's not a perfect system, and we got to work out all that stuff, but people got to be patient with it. So it really is true. If it comes your way the first time and you really are committed to getting it, you do what you have to do to get it the first time, because that bus may not circle back around to pick you up.
Yeah, you make a good point, Dr. Lynn. It's differences from hospital to hospital how they're giving it out.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
There's no plan on that, so it's really it's kind of chaotic. And to think that, you know, our particular community has been infected by misinformation is kind of heart wrenching. You know what I'm saying?
And I would tell you that the hospitals, they're trying to message the importance of getting it done, but think about how we have issues connecting to our healthcare information. So you're telling me that an 85-year-old can go to the Cleveland Clinic and get it if she signs up on the website. I got 85-year-olds still on flip phones, and you can't go to the library. How are you expected to access that information so you can get that vaccine? And it's not a number you can call. You have to register through MyChart, which is their portal. If you don't know how to access that, who's standing there to help you do that? So if you think about all the people that have internet connectivity, there's a large part of Cleveland, Ohio that doesn't have internet, right? So internet's not free everywhere. How do you get those people to get a vaccine if they can't even get to the process of registering for the vaccine?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the Nation of Islam will help out like they supposed to.
I do want to say that we've put the Zoom link in the chat, so we may let some people in one at a time to ask a question. Don't come in here acting crazy. Also, I'd like to say what's up to my BFF Ladosha right in the building. What's going on? And my brother Frankie G is in the house. So all the people that are watching right now, please share. Also, if you see in the chat, donate, support to all the chill platforms, so we can keep doing stuff like that. You see, you can drop something in Cash App, $money to the number 2 chill. You see it in the chat, but we're gonna go and we're gonna let's see. I think we had Malcolm. I don't know if this might be Malcolm X. Malcolm, who's the Malcolm that we have here? If you can unmute and ask your question.
Little killer Malcolm.
All right. Do we have Malcolm?
Yes, sir. I'm having technical difficulties right now. Can y'all hear me?
We hear you.
Okay. Hey, how everyone is doing? I appreciate the invite to the panel. The doctors are doing very good. Very good PowerPoint presentation, very good explanation on how the vaccine has been rolling out. Chill, extremely good show. Then you got 2 powerful young brothers on the show, which brother Uncle Kit, brother Shawn. I been appreciate the work they've been doing daily. Yeah, I am a frontline worker. I kind of missed my opportunity for the 1A slot because I ended up catching COVID literally a couple of days before my scheduled vaccination date, which was also the same day. I was expecting to do some vaccinations myself. I had a very mild or minor case. And I did have a question too. I wanted to know what would their recommendations be about how long should I wait to go ahead and get the vaccine after recovering from COVID?
I can answer that for you, Malcolm, and I'm glad you had a mild case and it wasn't more serious for you. The CDC literature right now says, even though the study is still out and it's new, that you wait 90 days from getting COVID, recovering from COVID before you get the vaccine. I can tell you that the hospital systems have not waited that long for staff that have had COVID. They've waited as little as 2 weeks to a month. So if your case was mild, I would advise you to talk with your healthcare provider though, just to make sure they're on board with that. But we're not telling people that they should wait 90 days. Part of that is 90 days may come and go, and we don't think, we can't guarantee that vaccine will be available in 90 days. I did hear on the Ohio Department of Health website today say you get a dose and you miss your second dose, we're not going to make you start all over. If there's longer than that 21 days, longer than that 28 days, you should still get that dose. So if it comes around soon, again for you, and it's been at least 2 weeks, a month or more, then you should go ahead and get that shot.
All right, we appreciate that, Dr. Lynn Milliner. Hey, Brother Malcolm, you have a follow up to that, because we're gonna move on to the next question. But I'm glad you answered it for us.
That a powerful answer. I'll be the first in line.
All right, appreciate you, bro. Thank you.
Smart choice.
All right, now, and Dr. Milliner, I do want to ask you, because I know that people call you, you get those calls. What are some of the things? Have you gotten calls from people who have issues with, they've tried to provide their own remedy?
Oh yeah, all the
for
time.
this vaccine, for the COVID. What are some things you have to hear and deal with?
I have people that will call and still ask for hydroxychloroquine, which we don't do. I will tell them that there is no, as Dr. Ko said, there is no cure, there is no treatment. And your diseases don't read the rule book. So COVID, like any other disease, is going to get better, and the only thing that's going to make it better is time. We are an impatient people. We want to be better yesterday. If we tell you you should feel better in 7 to 10 days, and it's the 11th day and you think you should get up and be fine, and you're not, we're not ready for that. I do get a lot of people ask, well, can I take zinc, and can I take any of the other stuff that boosts your immune system? I said, you can do that. But when you have COVID, it's almost like, well, let me close the door after the horse got out, because your boosted immune system is not any better at fighting off the virus than anything else, right? So if you believe that your immune system can be boosted, the time to do it would be before you got COVID, not when you have COVID, maybe after you had COVID. But none of that has been proven to help. But a lot of people hold to that. And that's one of those, we're not going to change a lot of that opinion, and they're not necessarily harmful things. But the only thing that can protect you, just like Leleka said, it's masking or face covering, washing your hands, not touching your face, and distancing. And even after vaccine, we're still not going to be able to give that up for a while. So when people talk about, I just want to get back to normal, we're going to be wearing face coverings for a while. And so this is not going to be night and day, because as many of us as will get the vaccine, there are just as many that aren't ready to get the vaccine, won't get the vaccine, or can't get the vaccine. So we're still going to have to do all of that.
All right, I'm gonna let Ankh and Shawn ask questions, but I do want to ask one. And again, the link has for you, if somebody wants to get on and ask a question like Brother Malcolm did, and I was glad that we were able to address it. Something that Dr. Milliner just said, Dr. Ko, I could have sworn, and this might have been a real technical explanation that you were giving me, but in one of the responses to a question we had on another show, didn't I hear you say that technically, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you cannot boost your immune system? Didn't I hear you say that? Let me know if I'm wrong.
Yeah, you took the thunder. I was going to say that.
Okay, you want to re-ask it, Unc, like I didn't say it? No, go ahead.
They being nice. They being nice.
We have, people, there's a lot of, the vitamin and supplement industry is a bazillion-dollar industry worldwide.
Bazillion.
But there's not a whole lot of science behind it, not because we don't want to, but because, when you're thinking about doing research on supplements and things like that, it costs money to do these studies, and then you got to think of what benefit you're going to get out of it. So, and as we know, there are a lot of supplements and plants, things that come from the ground that finally end up as truly used medicines in current day. But we don't have a whole lot of proof one way or another for a lot of these supplements. So when I have my patients ask me about it, I say, sometimes I'll look it up, sometimes I won't, but a lot of things we don't know if it's harmful, but we can't say it's very helpful either.
Okay, so you're saying if
I
I don't want to get a cold, you're saying vitamin C and orange juice will not boost whatever that means, will not boost my immune system?
I tell my patients that honestly, the thing that helps your immune system more than any of that is eating healthy and eating your fruits and your vegetables.
There you
That's
go.
where all the vitamins are.
Get
And
some
that's
rest, right?
I heard you say that a bunch of times, Unc.
Yeah, get some good, get some sleep, eat your food and vegetables, and call it a day, man. So, so to make sure on this question, yes or no, can you boost your immune system? Because that's the whole thing right now. Running through the community, I'm going to boost my immune system like it's a force field, like your immune system is a force field to be boosted. You walk around and you glowing after you take it, you're glowing. I'm all right. I don't need no mask, and put your brass on and your crystals in your pocket. Yeah, so I want to hear from each doctor. Can you boost your immune system? Now, this is a serious question, and we need clarity because they're going to bend your words and see, they said you could boost your immune system. I ain't taking no vaccine. So I just really need to hear that. Crystal clear. You don't got to be nice. You don't have to be
Crystal clear, no.
Crystal clear, no. And if you
That's
could
what I
boost
want
your
to
immune system, we wouldn't need the vaccine in the first place.
There you go. There you go, boy. I see you, Dr. Lynn. Dr. Lynn, like me. Me and Dr. Lynn can fight together on that, boy. She ain't
I'm gonna let you go first, though.
I appreciate that, honestly.
I'm gonna ask a couple of questions that they actually had in the chat. Some that you've actually already answered, which was a good thing, and so it limits the amount because we got into vegetables and all of that. Can you explain medically why no vegetable can cause an immune response? But we can get to that later. So it says, all right, now what about, okay, how much do you know about the vaccine trials in Brazil? It's currently showing that they had an efficacy. The Sinovac vaccine from China was tested in Brazil, and the results came back that it had a 50% efficacy ratio. But then in places like, and I'm gonna add to it because I know about the study. And then in Turkey, they claimed that the Sinovac, or CoronaVac is what they call it, CoronaVac, which actually has a weakened strand of the virus in it, showed efficacy of 94%. And then in India, they just began trials with it. So they were saying the efficacy could be fluctuating around 70%. Why would we see, how familiar are you guys, I'm sorry, doctors, are familiar with the whole vaccine trial in Brazil?
So that's a question for Dr. Doonquah, the infectious disease specialist. She probably has way more knowledge about all that. So the thing is that, this is a big world, and by the time we get through all of this, there's probably going to be lots of vaccines for this virus, just like for influenza. There's more than one vaccine for influenza. So I don't know the details of the trials and the vaccines that you're talking about, but there's lots of companies all over the world that are making vaccines, different mechanisms. They're not mRNA technology. So we just have to wait and see.
And I think, how many are in this country? I think there's maybe, is it 5 or 6 in this country? It's under 10, I believe.
Yeah, the last slide that I got from somebody last week, I think it was maybe 5 or maybe like 4 more that's coming through the pipeline. But clearly, globally, we're going to need as many as we can get.
Right.
Can we choose They're not gonna wait and give the black community the cheap one, are they?
Oh, I'm sure none of them are cheap. And you take that shot first and ask those questions later. And what we have to work on, obviously, are infrastructures and economics, because people will unfortunately, go to work sick, right? And that's a real thing. So if you have the kind of job that says, if I don't show up, I don't get paid. If I have symptoms, I'm gonna take that chance and go to work and make everybody sick, and that's unfortunate. I was on a call recently where a lot of people were asking, are they gonna make us take the vaccine?
Right.
We're miles and months away from that yet. So it's not like, if you work in a hospital system and you have to take the flu shot, or you opt out, or you don't see patients, or your work is severely restricted. So I tell people not to worry about that yet, that there is no, at least in Ohio, I can't speak for other states, there is no plan at this point to mandate people getting the vaccine and tie that to your employment.
Would you advocate that?
Well, that's a really good question. That's a good question. That's a good question. I don't think you can. I think in a perfect world, I probably would say yes, but I think there's such a significant number of people that the vaccine hesitancy and refusal rate is really high right now, and it's too real. I don't think the workforce could sustain it if they made that mandatory. And I think people would just revolt. I don't think people would stand for it.
They don't revolt against seatbelts, and they made them mandatory.
That is true. That is
Right?
true.
And they don't revolt about they can't smoke in a public facility.
Nope.
Well, you know what I say? People don't even ask what's in a hot dog, and you still eat that hot dog, and you stressing about a vaccine that could save your life. That hot dog ain't never saved anybody's life.
Yep.
I do want to go. We have, again, if anybody wants to come on and ask a question, it's in the chat line. So the link is in there, and we do have Mr. Hawkins in the building. My good frat brother E Hawk. What's going on, E? What you have a question? What do you think about the program? And I know that well, I'll go ahead and let you and do your thing, E.
Well, thanks for inviting me on, Chill. I have a question for the doctors. And this is maybe not a medical question, so to speak, but President-elect Joe Biden has promised the United States that he will issue out 100 million shots in his first 100 days. Do you ladies think, and Dr. Bonita, happy Founding Day to you. I have to say that. But anyway.
Thank you.
Do you ladies feel that, in your medical opinion, that this is possible? And is President-elect misleading us?
Well, I'll err on the side of saying that obviously I don't think he's intentionally misleading. But the problem is that we don't have the infrastructure for large volume distribution and administration of vaccine like other countries do. And this, I'll put in a plug here. This is what happens when you don't have national health care.
Right.
People don't want national health care, but this is the time to have national health care and an infrastructure for a delivery of health care. It's something as simple as giving a vaccine. So President-elect Biden, I am encouraged by his optimism, but he can't make infrastructure appear in 100 days. Mm-hmm. And the problem is that, just like anything else, when you're taking over position, you can only deal with what you're handed to. So we may not make that target, but we got to try.
Yeah.
How close do you think that we can come?
I mean, if we can get the vaccine
you want me to
out,
answer?
right? I mean, that's the whole point. So we got to have enough out, and then you have to have enough to be able to give it. So people are lining up to give it. We still have to get it out, right? And having something universally out is better than the way it is right now. Because right now you don't even know you're going to get a shipment until you get an email that says you're going to get a shipment. That's got to change. And she's right. I don't know how quickly that can change. And if he can change it, that's great. We're suffering under what happens when you don't have that kind of leadership and guidance in that kind of health system and infrastructure. And unfortunately, we're figuring out a lot of this stuff as we go. And that never bodes well. So we're going to make a lot of mistakes and a lot of missteps, but I agree. I'm hopeful that he'll be able to roll, if not all of this out, some part of it out, because there's a lot of folk that need to get vaccinated. And now,
all right. I know my man Shawn. Shawn is investigating all this stuff daily. I'm gonna let Shawn jump in on that one. Hawk, appreciate you coming on, bro. All right, go ahead, Shawn.
Yeah. So the reason the military was brought on was for logistical reasons, to be able to pose. Like logistically, our military is trained to do this when they are in foreign countries with all their resources, right? Because they got to go set up. They have large distributions to create working facilities for all of the people that they got to staff, and they got to coordinate and do all of these things. So our military muscle is supposed to be behind the logistical efforts. The issue goes back to what Dr. Milliner said. Leadership failed on the front end side of this thing, and there was not enough purchased initially, because you have to think, how many frontline workers do we have? How many doctors, nurses, assistants, first assistants, all healthcare work? How many people do we actually have then? And then you got to multiply that. Then you got to multiply the care facilities, the people in the care facilities, and you got to have all of this data going into that. You created a perfect opportunity with Operation Warp Speed. You didn't listen to pretty much none of the smart brains. See, I'm in Nashville, so we got a representative that was a part of the EAU approval in Dr. Hildreth, and he's one of the leading immunologists. So that was a pretty big deal for me. But to see him get a chance to be a part of that board and get things going. But he's been silent the last 2 weeks. And he usually is out front and he's actually talking about things, because he knows that this effort from the current sitting president was just not working to get things there. Now, we ended up, after they released and rolled out things, we were 2 weeks after the initial rollout. He was able to get Nashville, the Moderna. So a lot of the people that were involved with the healthcare facilities around Nashville and the other counties outside, Moderna came in, not Pfizer. And, they were able to get those administered. But you got to think, all of y'all got to have 2 shots. You know what I'm saying? And now we rolling out everything else. And correct, Dr. Milliner, you said something about everybody's state has different expectations on how the vaccine roll out. We talked about that last night on the show, where, I was talking to Brother Sutek, who is in the chat right now. He's in California. He had no idea what was going on with the vaccine rollout as far as who's in line. So I just think that, can Biden do it? He's going to need more logistical help in order to do it. I think, he's got to have ongoing planes, ongoing trucks on the road. These vaccines got to be made. You know what I'm saying? So you got to have, shifts surrounded by this. We can't have errors from the vaccine makers. We can't have slip up. We can't have human error. You know what I mean? We have to minimize human error. And we have to concentrate wholeheartedly on those efforts, because we're in the middle of a pandemic. Can he get 100 million? No. Can he get close? Possibly. I think he's going to do a lot better in his first 100 days than what we've seen in the last month and a half from leadership.
I have a question from my cousin, Anthony Ackland. He's in the ATL right now. My cousin. Everybody knows my cousin, Anthony Ackland. They know him as Sweet Dirty Tone.
Sweet Dirty.
in the ATL, also representing, Chat, but Chattanooga, Tennessee, my second hometown. And Stereo is in the chat. Shawn, don't act like you don't see Stereo in the chat. Somebody
I don't want to, bro.
Ox said, bring him in.
Bring him in, man. He's supposed to be able to test his ideas.
That's
it's
right.
It's not a debate.
No,
It's
you're
just
not reading the chat. You're not reading the unscientific responses from this brother. But go ahead.
Bring him out. But let me. Anyway, it's in the chat anyway. Stereo.
I think
But
he's scared to ask the question too.
and somebody else is coming in. But I do want to read this question for the two doctors that we have. My cousin said he's listening, but he can't talk right now. But he wants this question asked. He said his daughter is to return to school at the end of the month. What questions should he ask? And he has a small child. Young child. What questions should he ask, and how should he proceed in making sure that she is safe? Could the doctors address that for my cousin?
Sure. So one thing you want him to ask is what the city of Atlanta has planned for vaccinating staff at school, right? As you know, in Ohio, we plan to open schools back up on, I believe, March 1st, and Governor DeWine anticipates that we'll be starting to vaccinate teachers and janitors and school bus drivers before sometime in February. So sending a child back to in-person school, you want to make sure that the school is still doing their best to have the children distance as much as possible. And it's hard for young children, but there can still be some distancing done. Find out, is the school cleaning appropriately in between classes, whether it's daily. You still do some semblance of screening so that you minimize kids that may have been exposed so they don't expose them to other classmates. You also minimize a lot of movement. So rather than have students go from classroom A to classroom B, you have the teachers move so the students don't have to move. So there are ways to kind of lessen the spread and do things smarter and in a different way. But we know that it's very important that children get back to that sense of normalcy because they need that development. And not just for the kids, probably for the parents too, who are about to, lose it with homeschool and everybody's, tired of that. But the important questions are they vaccinating the staff at the school, and what distances are they trying to protect the children at the school?
All right. I see we have somebody coming in. Go ahead, Shawn.
No. Your cousin had another question.
Okay, what does he have?
I live in you basically said he live in Atlanta, and this is the infection rate any better or worse here? I guess he doesn't know. I will be taking the shot as soon as possible. Possibly can, but what do I do until then? Okay, so she summed it up pretty much. You're gonna have to continue to wear your mask, wash your hands, practice social distancing. You know what I'm saying? Don't hang out.
If he's wondering when are we going to get to children, all I can tell you is not yet. Both vaccines are approved for use in 16 and up. Initial trials were not conducted in children, so we don't like to make our children guinea pigs. So at some point we will be trying them in children, but we're not there yet.
So quick question. So was it because our children's immune system was more robust?
No, that isn't it. Whenever you're doing trials that way, there are very few vaccine studies that are done in children initially, as low as they'll go as 18. So you really do need to make sure that they're safe and approved. And what we didn't get to when we do vaccine trials and we talk about phases 1, phases 2, phases 3, by the time we get to phase 4, which is just more people, but it's where you're trying to ask more specific questions about, like, does the vaccine behave differently in older people versus younger people versus ethnic groups? So we can answer those questions later, but to Dr. Cole's point, a lot of this will take time, right? So we know more than we don't know, but there's still some information we don't know. So we don't put children on the front line of being guinea pigs. We do have to test it out and do a lot of doses so that we're prepared for that, because adults don't take it well when they have side effects. So we don't want to put children in that same category until we've worked out all the kinks and bugs, as people would say. But they will be tested, but we haven't got a definitive date on when it's going to roll out for children yet.
Okay. So,
All right.
so speaking of guinea pigs, let me get this ring real quick.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Because the vaccine has been approved for emergency use, does that mean it has not been through the sufficient trials?
No, it has been. So the short answer for trials is phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 are literally just more opportunities to vaccinate more people, right? So phase 1 might be hundreds of people. By the time you get to phase 2, it's thousands of people. By the time you get to phase 3, it's hundreds of thousands of people. So they've done that process. So to Dr. Cole's point, what they did differently this time was they did the trials at the same time they were manufacturing the vaccine versus we do all the trials and then we mass produce the vaccine because we needed it so quickly.
Thanks for that answer.
Okay, I forgot my question. I was getting ready to. I was
Right,
just
good.
No,
I got another.
Okay.
I got another one. All right. So we're kind of slimming up our list. So I want to go back to this one. Question 11 on our little tracker is vitamin D and zinc effective against COVID? And is ivermectin effective?
Dr. Milliner and
No
Dr. Cole.
to the
There you go.
vitamin, no to the vitamin D, no to the zinc. So ivermectin, I actually was looking up. There are multiple places in this country, and I think in other countries, that are looking at ivermectin, not for treatment of COVID-19, but for prevention, as far as I know. But as far as what I could see, and I looked it up a few weeks ago, they're still in small trials, like less than 1,000 people. So that's something to keep an eye on, ivermectin. So ivermectin is a medicine that we use for treating parasites. So it's a very widely used drug, lots of different parts of the world where parasites are an issue. We don't really have an issue with that in this country, like other places and other environments in the world. Ivermectin has its own set of side effects itself.
Mhm.
So that's something to keep your eye on as far as prevention, meaning taking it to prevent getting the infection and getting sick from it if you're exposed to the virus.
Okay, Dr. Cole, while I have you on here, and I know you're gonna give me a short answer. Somebody on the chat wanted to know, what about oil of oregano? Talk to me.
Oh,
No.
oregano. Oh.
What's the other thing, Chill?
The hot goat soup?
Radio stereo boy. He was selling something. What was it called?
Oh man, it was your boy. What was the name? The Infinity Pill.
Infinity Pill.
I mean,
I had the burdock root in it. The burdock root.
How about that, Doc? The burdock root.
And the oregano oil. Oil of oregano.
As far as I know, I don't even know what burdock root is. But no.
Burdock root.
Viruses are smarter than all of that.
Okay.
Well, and just look at it this way: a virus is not a living thing; it cannot be killed by anything.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Say that. Explain that one to me. One of the doctors, particularly the doctor who said it.
A virus it's not a living organism. It's not alive. It can't be killed by anything. So if you call it a bug, there is no raid that's going to kill that virus. Nothing will kill that virus.
Wow. Okay. That stereo or anybody else, I personally just put the Zoom link in the chat. So
yeah, he chopping at the bit.
Here comes CK. I'm gonna let CK in. My favorite, CK the poet. I want to hear her say flipping mother flower. Whoever that is still trying to get in, I don't know what.
By the way, she got her Pfizer vaccine.
Oh, CK got the vaccine?
Yeah.
Dose.
Okay. All right. We have CK the poet from the illustrious pseudo killers on deck. Is that how you say it, Ankh?
Yeah, you know it. You
You
already
gotta
know.
say it with a little bit more vigor. You gotta be like pseudo killers on deck.
Okay, I had to leave that to Ankh. What's
No,
going
I'm
on,
joking.
CK? What do you have for us? How you enjoying the show, and what information do
Oh
you
yeah, I
have or
missed
you need
some
to?
of it, but I'm have to rewatch the first 20-ish minutes of it. But peace everyone, peace to the panelists, peace to the chat. Really appreciate the doctors coming through. You know, it's always awesome to have, Black people that are working in that field, so we can see more of us there, because, our people tend to go the racist route of saying, oh, y'all always getting y'all information from the white man and blah, blah, blah. So like, hey, here are other people that look just like us. You're making it seem like Black people can't be doctors too. I did have a couple of questions, like three of them. It's just three pretty quick-ish ones. I'm gonna start with the first one. Y'all probably not gonna like it, but I'm gonna ask it anyways. Um, mainly directed towards the doctors. I just wanted to ask, what do y'all think should be, from y'all perspective or personal opinion, what do y'all think should be done about the constant, I guess you could say, bombardment of misinformation, propaganda, and conspiracy theories that are perpetuated and spread on social media? It was always a problem, but like these past couple of years, it's been nuts, especially 2020.
I've always told people you need to limit your source of information, right? We live in a 24-hour news cycle. You can look up anything. Google is not your friend. You type in a word, you're going to get a whole bunch of words back. We encourage people to listen to healthcare providers. And as Dr. Coase said, you may have missed that, you need to follow the science, not the emotion. You can't get your major medical news from Facebook or Fox News, or your grandmother, who in her infinite wisdom is probably right about a lot of things, but isn't right about everything. Science is science for a reason. It's important. So you sometimes, I tell people, you have to turn the TV off. You got to stop watching the news. You got to stop checking Facebook. You got to turn off that information, because I don't expect people that don't train to understand the science to understand and know the science, right? So you limit your sources, and you research trusted sources, and try to process that, and not try to read everything about everything, and then have a dialogue with someone you trust in a health profession, right? That's important. Not have somebody yell at you and make you do something you're not comfortable with without finding out what your reservations are, but have a conversation, not a dialogue.
Yeah, thank you. I guess for my second question, uh, dang it, I almost forgot it. Oh yeah. Just to kind of give you a little bit of context about me, I work in a long-term care facility, and I'm not a direct care staff worker. I'm more of like a administrative-ish, manager-ish kind of person. But I still come in close contact with the residents, or as you would probably call them from your perspective, patients. And the thing that I've noticed is that the people on the two homes that I work out of, the direct care workers, they are refusing to get the vaccine. And also, they're not consistent with wearing their masks like they should, in my opinion. And, as Shawn mentioned to you earlier, I did take the Pfizer vaccine last week. I did have some symptoms, a bit of fatigue, like noticeable severe fatigue. Um, and then I had some swelling in the throat area. I mean, I could breathe just fine, but it was enough to kind of make me pause and be like, ooh, you know. But the swelling went down pretty quickly. It took most of the day for it to go down. But my question is this, based on letting you know that, is the nurse that gave me my vaccine, she said that she was not getting the vaccine. And I wanted to know, what do y'all think that should be done in the medical field to make sure that these nurses are getting a lot of the up-to-date information that the doctors get? Because it seems like the doctors, because they have to know this information to be able to help their patients and talk to their patients and explain things properly, they have the updated science articles or science journals. They're reading stuff constantly, they're having these meetings, versus the nurses, it doesn't seem like they're getting that same stuff. So they are coming in contact with the misinformation too, thinking that the virus is X, Y, and Z, or don't trust the vaccines because they're not reading the same things that y'all are reading. So what do you think should be done or changed for the future to make sure that they are on, or maybe not on the same level as y'all, because y'all of course have more expertise and y'all have many years of experience and have done way more work than what the nurses do so far as learning your profession. But what do you think could be done or could could be put in place so that they are more knowledgeable on the subject matter?
So my first thing is, in the middle of a pandemic, if you're a nurse and you don't know the basics about what's going on with this virus, that's because you don't want to know. Second thing is that just like doctors, we have medical education, nurses have, they're supposed to have their own, in their own profession, education. And so that's why you're supposed to have at facilities, nursing homes that I've ever worked at, you're supposed to have a nurse manager and or some kind of infrastructure where you're getting in services and education for your nurses. The other thing I would say in healthcare, I think it should be just like it is for the flu vaccine now. If you don't get a flu vaccine, you can't work here. That's where it is right now in every place that I've been now with the influenza. I think it should be the same thing for coronavirus. If you don't get this vaccine, we're not saying you got to get it, but you just can't work here. That's the way I feel about it.
Ma'am. Yeah.
All right.
Just to kind of give you some context, the long term, I work for the state of Florida, so that should give you some some inclination that the training is not on point. The management and organization is not that great. But this is my last question, and I'm gonna go ahead and slide on off of here. Oh God, I lost my last question. Oh yeah, okay, I remember. My bad. I'm sorry. My last question is, I mean, as all of us are very aware or should be aware by now, it appears that there's a lack of comprehension, a lack of understanding, a lack of knowledge in regards to viruses, the human immune system, and how viruses have changed over time, how vaccines have changed over time. And I think in school, they do go over the immune system a little bit, like, but everything else, not as much, maybe viruses to a small degree when it comes to, like, you know, meiosis, mitosis, and all that good stuff. But I wanted to ask you, do you think that that the educational system should probably ramp up focusing on those key things in regards to, just based upon how things have went with the misinformation in this pandemic? Do you think they should ramp up the education in those specific areas, so far as, you know, kids from K through 12, and maybe add some extra science courses or something like that for the college students? Or should they do that and also do something for the adults that, like, refuse to go to college or don't want to go to college, or, you know, they 40, 50 years old and got 2 jobs or whatever, so they ain't got time for school or whatever, you know? Or should we, with those same adults, like, should we just treat them as lost causes and just focus on the people that are in school?
All right. Thank you. Thank you, CK. I'll go over there. I'll quit messing with me offline. All right. Thank you, CK, the poet. Go ahead and
Yeah, thank you. That was my last question.
All right.
Well, I think that, you know, this pandemic has brought out 2 things that are lacking in our educational system. And I always say you got to start with the kids. And yes, the adults, they're lost cause. Forget them. Start with the kids. Like you said, science education, knowledge about infection and things like that, and civic education about voting and what voting means and how it works and how the government works. And those are two things that I think that we have shown ourselves that we're not teaching our kids well enough about that, because the adults don't know. So that means something has been missed along the way. But that's a whole nother show.
Now, I do have a question that I want Dr. Milliner and Dr. Cole to address because it disappoints me greatly. And I kind of talked about this a little bit, where, you know, the science of medicine and just science in particular has been widely held to be white people science. And in the case of of this COVID vaccine, when people address it that it's some underlying conspiracy, and I'll point to somebody like Dr. Kizzmekia Corbett, uh, intelligent, genius, beautiful black sister, who was one of the lead scientists on the development of what became the Moderna vaccine. When I point to something like that, it really disappoints me greatly when the response to that is she's an agent just like the nurse at Tuskegee, and you can't trust any of these black folks. Let me tell you something. I wish I would get my children through school, through college, through medical school, have them become geniuses, work out something that will save the freaking world. And then our own people turn around and call my child an agent that's working for the white man. As doctors, as sisters, as black women, who knows what y'all had to go through to get where you're at. We should be building freaking statues to sisters like you. Uh, what do you feel about rising to these heights, or even that specific sister rising to the heights for our people to say, oh, well, she probably just an agent working for, you know, the white people, like the nurse at Tuskegee? Because that hurts my feelings. That hurts my heart to hear that.
I have people in my own family who have no respect for the medical profession at all.
Right.
I remember when I was in residency, my grandmother, I would try and tell my grandmother something about her health, and she would say to me, "You ain't no real doctor." That was my own grandmother.
Wow.
Oh, man.
So people, honestly, it's nothing you can do about that. People don't like doctors. This is what I tell my patients. I'll be here when you need me.
All right.
Dr. Milliner.
I got nothing to add to that. I think people are gonna trust who they want to trust and listen to who they want to listen to. I was gonna be not kind of say she's misguided. You know, you went through the same medical school process as I did. That doesn't make it, you know, any less important for what you do than what everybody else does, right? You're smart enough. You were trained the same way I was. How you come out with that interpretation, I don't get it. But that's what some people think, and some of us are our own worst enemies, right? You know, there's plenty in our community that sometimes will do just the opposite. They'll say, well, I don't know that I trust a black doctor, right? I'm gonna go to the white one, and some of us won't still go to black doctors, right? And I don't understand that either, right? But we are not agents. We are people that believe in data. We believe in science, and we don't tell you to do what we don't do. Dr. Cole's had her vaccine. I've had both of my Pfizer doses, and it wouldn't be right for me to tell somebody, well, you got to get it if I don't get it.
Ankh, I've heard them call you an agent a million times. What is that about when you give scientific information, talk about scientific literacy, and why do we do that, Ankh? Because I mean, you
Well,
deal with it all the time.
it comes from people like Stereo, right? He's saying in the chat saying it's not real and all that. And he checks a few boxes. He might need to be first in line checking boxes. It's so we the police right now because we have allowed intelligent, trained sisters, okay, to doctors, not only sisters, but doctors. That means they're well trained at what they do. That means they're the experts. We are bringing the experts. So if you bring experts to the community, you the police. If you bring Wesley Muhammad and Louis Farrakhan to the community, you're a hero. There's something wrong with that thinking right there. So I start to realize that being a doctor is hard. That understanding science is hard. There's no easy way out of scientific literacy, and there's no easy way out of understanding science, and it sure as hell no easy way out of putting that time and studying years and being a doctor. So that's hard. So think sometimes the path of least resistance is the order of business. We've become real lax, and we want the easy way out. Well, let's just do this. Let's play some basketball. Let's sing. Let's entertain. You don't want to be a scientist or a doctor. And so we have not fostered that type of community these days that would harbor, doctors and scientists, right? We'd rather just have somebody jump on YouTube and talk trash, right? So you got experts on this panel right here. Serious sisters, like they're serious at what they do. Like if we was in a kung fu movie, they'd be the masters. You know what I'm saying? And I trust them because they listen to what they say, community. They say they trust science, the numbers, right? It's not a white or black thing. They're looking at the numbers, right? They're looking at the data. Okay, so how we said white people will lie, black people might lie, but numbers don't lie. So we need to at least, understand that. So I know I get that I'm the police. So if I'm the police for bringing experts and having a conversation with expert doctors, right, then I'll just be the police and you go ahead and bring Lewis and the boys and they cure for coronavirus as being pies. We'll see how that works out. Just want to just say that.
You're on mute, Chill.
Muted, Chill. What do you think about that, Dr. Lynn?
I agree. You're right. Numbers don't lie, and we are always data-driven people. I'll tell patients that all the time too. I'm like, show me the data. You have, and some of it. Sometimes you have to stop giving people an audience to spread misinformation, right? If you took away those platforms, as someone well knows this week, you take away your Twitter account. Well, what you gonna do? But I mean, you got nothing, right? So if you put stuff out there, we don't hold a lot of people accountable for what they say, right? So you don't question that pseudo expert in the community to say, well, show me where that is, right? But they'll ask us, right? Well, where is that true? What's your data? How do you know that? What's the research? But you got to work. That works both ways, right? You ought to be able to ask those same questions of those same experts.
You call them the pseudo experts. A new term. I like that. Pseudo like you, and the funny part about it is all the data is coming from science. So even when they cherry pick it,
right,
they rely on science. Even the pseudoscientist has to go to where the real information comes from and cherry pick through it. It's interesting. And the
Zoom kicked me out of Zoom. My computer kicked me out of Zoom. I had to come back on my phone. But y'all continue. I got to get back on my laptop. But go ahead.
No, I just was basically saying that the doctor's right. They'll ask her all kind of questions, but won't present her with data. And that's just, interesting. Yeah, I want to hear Dr. Lynn. I want to hear her. Yeah, I want to hear her. I want to hear the experts.
Thank you. And true to what, kudos to the work you do for science literacy, because I think sometimes we have to stop talking over people. and have different conversations with people. So it's important if I know how to say it, but I have to say it and present it to a way that people get. You know, a lot of people on the hotline will argue with me about, well, do I need to get tested? Do I really need to isolate? I'm like, you know, and I'll just keep it real for them. And I'll say, well, you know what, choose not to isolate, but when you go back to work and spread that to everybody at work and they got to close your job down and you don't get paid for 2 weeks, are they going to be happy that you showed up sick or mad that you showed up sick? You know, on some level, you have to think outside. The pandemic does not care about the choices that you make. So yeah, you can choose to do things or not choose to do things, but you have to understand that there's consequences for those, just like everything else, right? You choose not to wear your mask. You choose to let your guard down that one time. That's all COVID needs is that one time, right? And if we're big about protecting our most vulnerable, right, the older people or the babies or people with a lot of other conditions, and then you got to walk the walk and talk the talk. That's the only way to protect yourself. If you're not going to get vaccinated for whatever reason, then you got to do the other right stuff, right? And if you want others to go in line in front of you, you know, just prepare that line may get a lot longer before it ever gets to you.
Yeah, you say you got to do the right. So our community don't want to do none of it. They don't want to wear the mask.
Right, we don't. We'll do part of it. We won't do all of it. We'll do part of it, right? Because everybody will call the line and say, well, I was careful. I was doing this. I didn't go anywhere. You know, we watch people go in the grocery store. How long have they been saying only 2 of you need to go to the grocery store? How come 10 of y'all are in the grocery store? Right? Somebody got to stay home, right? You can get stuff delivered. You don't have to get out of your car to get groceries. We still continue to do the same thing. We didn't tell you not to celebrate Christmas and Kwanzaa this year. We just said do it differently. But we are people that sometimes we're just stuck on doing certain things and not thinking, well, what's the worst that can happen? That's the problem with our young people. I work with staff today. I was like, well, you're going to get your vaccine? She's like, no, I'm gonna wait. I'm like, well, what? I don't. And then I asked her why. She said, well, I want them to work out the bugs. And I understand part of that. We're not going to get past this point if we don't ask why and understand why, right? You can't counter every argument, right? And there's 3 or 4 groups. There's the ones that never will, right? And there's the ones that might. Maybe that's where we should be putting the emphasis on the ones that are might and are thinking about it versus the ones that never will, right? Because you're not going to win all of those arguments, right? So maybe we have to pick and choose the ones we can win.
Okay, do we have, is Bonita, because now I'm on my phone, so I can't see everybody. But is Dr. Cole still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, and this is something that we talked about earlier, but I want to bring it up for everyone else. And Shawn knows, and Ankh knows, we've all dealt with this question of Bell's palsy. That was the big thing for a minute. Can you explain to us why 4 people out of, we now at about 10 million people vaccinated doesn't prove that the vaccine causes Bell's palsy? Or go ahead, Shawn, because I know you've dealt with this Bell's palsy thing.
We're at 12. We're at 12 million. We're at 12 million vaccinated. Yeah. We was at 11.9. We over 12. We was at 11.9 the last live update. So we're over 12. But yes, so out of 12 million people that have been vaccinated, well, let's do it this way. When the FDA released the data, what I'm talking about is the 94 page and the 54 page 3 trial results for Moderna and Pfizer. There was instances in the adverse effect columns of Bell's palsy appearing in the placebo group and in the vaccinated group in both case studies. I think you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I think it was 3 cases in one and 3 cases in the vaccinated group in Pfizer, and I think maybe 1 in the Moderna. But then there was also like a couple, 3 cases in the Pfizer placebo group. For our community, a video went out for Facebook, and the first thing that and memes went out saying that, hey, I took the vaccine and then I developed Bell's palsy from receiving the vaccine. Now, is this something that the mRNA vaccine, whether Moderna or Pfizer, causes, or is this something that is naturally hereditary in the human population?
Dr. Cole and Shawn, I want to tell you that the one sister was his cousin in Nashville. He said they made that video. But talk to us about Bell's palsy and the corona vaccine.
I'll be honest with you. I haven't really heard much about that.
Okay. Now I know you and I talked about, I guess, the general population of people. I don't want to speak for you,
but yeah, so Bell's palsy, it's a pretty common condition. Bell's palsy is paralysis of the facial nerve. That's a nerve that serves the bottom and the side of the face, and it just paralyzes the muscles in the face. So as far as I know, it really hasn't been a big issue with these two vaccines as far as they're coming out. So, but you got to weigh the risk and the benefit. I mean, having Bell's palsy is way better than dying from coronavirus.
And why do you say? Yeah, because that's reversible, right? The Bell's palsy that you normally.
For most people with Bell's palsy, it goes away on its own.
Right.
We don't really know what causes it in everybody. It's probably different things in different people. We do think that it may be caused by certain viral infections. Mm-hmm. We don't really know, but it's not that it's reversible because we do something to reverse it. It just, for most people, it goes away on its own and the function of nerve comes back on its own. There's some people who have a prolonged effect and they have a droop of their face, but they're still alive and still breathing.
The vaccine companies said that even though there was some reports of Bell's palsy, they did not think it was above what they would have expected for the general population. So they didn't find an increased incidence because of or due to receiving either COVID or the Moderna vaccine.
Yep, that's a fact. No need to worry about the Bell palsy. They call it the Joker smile around here.
Okay.
You gonna let your boy on, man? Because he thirsty.
Is he in?
I don't know. He said message. He said send it to his messenger. Text him the link. He's foaming at the mouth.
Okay, well, I was off for a second all the way. I got kicked out my own self. Let me see if I can get the link to Brother Stereo.
He ain't getting it in the chat because he on the video thing and he won't go outside the video to not look at the video and look at just the comments to get the link. So could you please send it to his messenger, because he's made he's asked some questions that the doctors can address immediately if they want to address them. If not, Ankh and myself are qualified to answer the questions based on the available data that we actually have from the scientific community that actually answers his question.
Okay, go ahead and talk. I got the link. Let me go and grab Stereo's direct messenger. But go ahead and ask the doctor something, and while I get Stereo.
All right, sure. Why you going ahead and do this? I think we already pretty much established why the Black community need to take the vaccine. We talked about, vegetables not being a true solution for what we have going on. But one of the things that we really haven't elaborated on is I want to get back, this rare instance of some type of immune response to the virus from a selected few of people that seem to be gaining some type of rare immunity to the virus. Have Dr. Coe or Dr. Milliner, have you heard about people gaining some type of rare immunity to the coronavirus
You mean
without
antibodies?
anything?
I have not.
I haven't heard anything about that either up until this point.
Shawn, you talking
Okay.
about the group of people that could actually had like super antibodies, is what you're talking about. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Right.
And this is people who've already had the infection?
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
Oh, I haven't heard anything about that.
Yeah, I haven't either. I think the issue would be like, how would you know?
Yeah, I did read
Right.
something about that myself, Shawn, but go ahead. I'm still trying to get stereo together.
You good? The reason that I ask is because there's really no real, there's some small information on it, but there's not a lot because it's still unanswered as to why this will happen with these particular people. But there was, for instance, NBC put out a publication regarding this one particular gentleman who had this rare case, and that's pretty much where it came around or evolved around him being able to have that super immunity, pretty much. But some people, could be under the impression. The reason that I brought it up because some people could be under the impression that that they also too may have this ability to be able to have that rare immunity, and they actually don't need to get a vaccine at all. They'll just rather let all of us get vaccinated, and then they'll gain their immunity that way.
So yeah, I think they're gonna what it's gonna do is it's gonna kind of help scientists to develop like a drug to help fight COVID-19 based off of that.
Okay. So I did give I did read something about that. That was just like yesterday or the day before yesterday. I did read something about that myself. But I did give stereo, so he should be joining us.
Okay.
And then we're gonna wrap this up. If you guys,
Yeah.
what's that, Shawn?
Have the doctors heard, Dr. Milliner or Dr. Coe? Have you heard anything about actual vaccination deaths from the new mRNA vaccine?
I haven't.
No, I haven't.
Now, do you think that either the vaccine makers or the medical industry and as a whole are secretly keeping this data away from the public?
No, I think they got too much other things to do.
No,
Right.
not as far as I know.
So
But
if someone would,
if it's a secret, I wouldn't know.
right.
See that go funny, yo. Yeah, and then how would you know that? Like it's supposed to be a secret. Why would we know that? Oh man.
Not as far as I know.
They say y'all hiding the data. Y'all are skewing the COVID numbers. You're writing. Well, you're basically writing everybody up as a COVID patient so that you could get paid more money.
So
if that's the case, I wouldn't be on this call. I would take my Powerball money and go. So we are not reimbursed more, just as someone alluded to, you write COVID on the death certificate because we get, $1 for every death we certified due to COVID. That is inaccurate.
We don't get paid at all to sign the death certificate, ever. I've not received 1 penny in 20 years signing death certificates.
And nor are we paid, nor is there a quota for COVID patients that we are capitalizing on.
Thank y'all.
No, we don't get paid by diagnosis.
Oh man. Yeah, Shawn, that seems to be like a
If honestly, if I was gonna pick a diagnosis to get paid for, it wouldn't be COVID-19. It'd be diabetes.
It'd be obesity for me.
oh, oh,
Mm.
We get more
man.
money from that.
Oh man.
And you know why?
Wow.
Because you're gonna live longer. I get paid longer. COVID take you right out. You can't diagnose by nobody that's dead.
Mhm.
Right.
Okay.
You out of there.
Look like y'all wrapped up all of everything except for Stereo's questions. Well, one of his questions was that well, he gotta mention the second one because he said he talked to somebody and they told him something about a particular herb that actually fights the prevention of COVID-19 or whatever he was saying in the chat. I'm curious to understand. But his other one is he asked was if they made this vaccine so fast, why haven't they made? And I don't think he was paying attention, but why they haven't made a vaccine for for cancer and for HIV.
Okay, and
So
before
I can answer. I
before
can
you
answer
answer this,
both.
Dr. Cole, I just want you to know Stereo the Hitman is on his and he's in the let's let him in. Go ahead and answer that question.
So I can answer those very quickly. We actually do have a vaccine for cancer. It's called the HPV vaccine.
Got him.
Number two, what was the second thing?
HIV.
Oh, HIV. So yeah, I think most doctors, nobody's real happy about that one. But the problem is HIV is a different virus. And HIV works a different way. Coronavirus is not a real smart virus. It puts this big old spike protein on the outside of it. So that anybody's immune system can make an antibody to that spike protein. HIV is a smart one. HIV attacks the cells that make antibodies. So that's why it's so hard to make a vaccine, because HIV attacks the immune system that you have to use to give the vaccine.
That's a heck of an answer right there. We need to replay that one. And you realize how stupid the question was. They say there's no stupid questions, but that was a stupid question right there. Goodness gracious.
All right.
HIV is a tricky one, and we haven't been able to get around that. Every virus is not the same. And then, I tell my patients the HPV vaccine is the first cure we have for cancer. And I'll even go as far to say, we used to start doing pap tests at age 21. Now the American Cancer Society is suggesting that we can actually start doing pap tests at age 25 now, every 5 years, because so many people have gotten the HPV vaccine and the number of people getting cervical cancer has gone down so low that we don't even have to start doing pap tests to age 25 now.
You know what? That's the point I wanted to make. Vaccines are so successful that they're their own worst enemy.
I mean, viruses or vaccines. Okay. Can you guys hear me, first of all?
Yeah, I see him.
Yeah.
I see him on there in the dark. Put some light in there.
Okay, so I like his name has been brought up during several times during the this discussion. So we have, as a journalist, you bring somebody's name up. I got to do my best to bring the person in. Ankh and Shawn know this brother from a previous debate that we had on why Black people should or should not take vaccines. This was before we were even dealing with COVID per se. This was just about vaccines in general. And this brother led the team of saying, hell no, do not take the vaccine. So they called your name up. You hear Stereo the Hitman. Say hello to your people, the panel. And if you have a question and a brief statement, since they brought your name up, you like the Candy Man. If they say your name 3 times in a row, you will appear. What's going on, Hitman?
I am here. I want to say what's up to the panel, to the doctors that's on the panel. How y'all doing?
We're doing good, thank you.
Deal with the
That's
champs
great.
now, boy.
Now, what's up?
Come man. Got the champs for you now. These the champs.
Well, you know, I stand on what I believe in. I stand on my platform, what I study. Now, to the doctors, you know, I don't take away, you know, the whole going to college, learning the textbook, doing all these things with the doctorate. What I take away from is that the first step of learning something is that we don't know until we learn. Can I at least get an agreement on that? We don't know until we go through the system to learn it, correct?
That's a cautious yes.
Okay, well, that's good. So my point is, you know, when we're taught anything, it means that we're taught because we don't know. So I'm harboring on that because at the end of the day, the doctor field, the medical field, they teach you what to do when certain things happen, certain things to help people out. But at the same time, the AIDS epidemic, HIV epidemic, cancer epidemic been going on for 1 billion years. It's been going on forever. I'm just using astronomical things. So my point being is that with this COVID, you know, it's pretty much killing people the same way for what they say. So at the end of the day, why rush to do this vaccine and get something? Oh, we got the vaccine. Everybody should take it now to prevent this and that. But why not rush to do the same thing for AIDS or for cancer? You know what I'm saying? I heard your answer when I was coming in. I heard it in the thing. But at the end of the day, I mean, it don't add up to me. It don't add up because at the end of the day, just as many people are dying from AIDS, HIV, and just as many people are dying from cancer over the years, period. But this thing is being focused on in the numbers of so many people dying from COVID, so many people dying from COVID. And to be totally honest, nobody's in there to see an autopsy. Nobody in there to see what really they're dying from. It could be the regular flu that's been killing people. The point is that everybody who wants to investigate that end of it is being shunned away. Or even people who were like, I want to exhume my loved one's body, they shutting them down. And only time you do things like that, yeah, oh, it could be an epidemic of spread. That sounds good. The only time you do things like that in secret is to cover something up. You know what I'm saying? I have to play devil's advocate. You can't just go on with this government been messing up. Like you said, people eating hot dogs. You don't even know what's in the hot dog. They're shoving it in their mouth. Who made the hot dog? The same people who made the COVID. So that's where I'm at with it right now. So I want to hear what you got to say.
Time out. You said people made COVID? You mean a vaccine or you mean the virus?
Bruh,
Shawn, let the champs at him, Shawn. Let the doctors.
Clarity for the doctors. I want clarity for the doctors.
They didn't say they wasn't clear. Let them say if they're not clear.
All right, Bonita I took her. She ready to answer. She didn't.
So, Mr. Stereo, you're not making no sense. I'm sorry, you're just not.
Okay, well, tell me why I'm not. Maybe I'm not, but let me know why I'm not.
You're not. You're comparing cancer and HIV and coronavirus. You can't compare those things. And I don't really have a long answer for you because I'm gonna tell you the same thing I tell my patients. I'm not telling anybody you should get the vaccine. Just like in my presentation, I said, this is why you don't want to get COVID-19. And I tell my patients, These are your risk factors of getting very sick from this virus or dying from this virus. And then here's the science, and then you have to make a decision. But you can't compare this coronavirus epidemic to HIV and cancer. Those are 3 different things.
But don't all of them got one thing in common? They killing people. So, and they're supposed to be an epidemic. So why you fix one? What is it? Pick and choose?
Yo, you crazy.
You're not making no sense.
Peanuts.
I mean, you saying I'm not making no sense, but you're not giving me a valid reason why I'm not making any sense.
And I don't have to. You're not making any sense, and I don't have to.
Send your army at them, Doc.
I take care of patients. You walk in my door. If you got cancer, if you got diabetes, if you have coronavirus, I take everybody as they come with what they have. I can't say you have coronavirus and make a comparison to some disease that they don't have. You can't look at, that's not how you take care of patients, and that's not how you take care of people.
But that's not what I'm presenting to you. What I'm presenting to you is that each thing that I named is just as deadly as the other. And at the end of the day, they're not rushing for a vaccine for that while they're rushing for a vaccine for this. That's the point I'm making. I'm not comparing them. I'm not saying anything like what you're saying. What I'm saying is that AIDS been out for a long time and it's been killing millions of people. It's a pandemic.
Where you get that
Cancer
from?
Been out for a long time and it's been killing millions of people. That's a pandemic.
So I already explained the difficulty that we have with getting an HIV vaccine, because it attacks the immune system, and you need an immune system in order to make a vaccine work. But if the virus attacks the immune system, then it's hard to make a vaccine to it. That's my explanation for that.
So do you not agree that coronavirus attacks the respiratory system? And do you not agree that if your immune system is strong enough, it can fight it off?
400,000 people that are dead. That's proof that it didn't work.
That's proof what didn't work? Their immune system being strong enough?
That's correct. That's proof that 400,000 people's immune system did not work against this coronavirus.
But at the end of the day, what's the stats? Was it what was the ages of these people? You get what I'm like? It's a lot of answers. The only thing I hear right now, what you're telling me, is what you regurgitate and what you heard. And the only reason I say that is because you really don't have no real answer. You're just telling me what you heard. And at the end of the day, you're only going to hear so much, especially being a Black woman in the medical field. Like, I don't understand how people don't really understand that this is all economical things that's going on around the world. This is all economics. It has nothing to literally do with what we're talking about right now.
What you got for us, though? Just curious. What do you have? Because one thing we do know, Stereo, this is for sure, that they actually know how many people die every day anyway. So now extra people are dying. So why is it that extra people are dying, bro? See, that's
what makes it extra people when you didn't know the stats from the beginning.
Simply saying
people die every day from just the flu or from having pneumonia every day in droves.
No,
and those are the same stats they're using for this thing.
You do understand they know how many people die every day, right? You do know that.
I didn't hear you.
You do understand that they understand how many people die every day. There's a number. There's an average number of people that die. So now, since the pandemic came in, that number has changed. So the question is, why has the number changed, bro?
But the thing is, you said it changed. You listening to the same people.
Hold on,
you listen to the same people that control the news, that control the airwaves. How you know it changed?
Hey, guys, let me do this. Let me do this. Because Stereo, your people are requesting Stereo come over to the pseudo killers after this. I don't know if that's what you want to do.
I'm done.
No, that's what I want to do because.
Stereo, what do you have for listen, Stereo? I want to shut up since you didn't discount the medical industry and the sisters' degrees. What is it right now, bro? What is it that you have for the Black community that these doctors don't? Don't talk around circles, get straight to the point. Once again, what is it that you have that will help save our lives right now, Stereo, since you have combated modern science from the computer and Facebook. What do you have for us right now? I'm muting myself out, and please tell us, what do you have, brother?
CPAP machine.
You got to say all that again.
I said, what is it? Since you have discounted the degrees of these intelligent systems, you relegated it to the trash can, basically, right? And they just don't know nothing. What is it that you have for us right now that can change the trajectory of COVID-19 in our Black community, bro? What you got for me right now? And I'm being quiet. I'm going to mute out. Go ahead, brother.
All right, mute out. So this is what I have for you. Study the things that you need to study about this whole world. It's bigger than this medical system. It's about the world and the history of the world, meaning that this thing happens every so many years. You have to understand this because this is about a takeover. This is about a global takeover. This is about New World Order. This is about putting everybody into space.
Okay,
You got to understand something.
Stereo.
I'm listening.
This is what I want to do, because I actually asked you about what specific technique,
right? He knows.
Health, what you had for the COVID virus that these sisters are saying. So what I want to do is we're gonna close this one down. Say thank you to Dr. Cole and Dr. Milliner, and a special shout out.
Hear that answer though. I'm sure the doctors want to hear that answer.
I got you, to Dr. Doonquah. But hold on, what I'm saying is, after this, I'm inviting, because I'm gonna go to my YouTube channel. Stereo, you can be the host, not the host, but the guest, because there's a lot of people in the chat that want to get at you. But this is something I don't think the doctors are gonna deal with right now. But I will let Stereo answer that question. I hope he'll answer the question the way Ankh asked it.
Ask him again for me.
We're gonna say goodbye after he does this, and I'll let Ankh clarify it, and then we're gonna shut this down, go over to the Kevin Chill Herd YouTube channel, and I'm gonna put the link. I will redo the Zoom link. Audrey, Tech Diva, what's the easiest way I can do this to just go over to my YouTube channel and
link?
Turn it off, yo.
Yeah, when you go over there, are you gonna broadcast directly through through YouTube, or are you gonna do Zoom?
Okay, Shawn, what would be the best way just to do it? Just on Zoom?
Stop on the Facebook.
Just stop on Facebook. Don't end this. Stop on Facebook, and then relaunch through YouTube, and it'll continue to show, and nobody left.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Audrey.
Yes.
You can handle that for me.
Okay.
You turn off the Facebook, and then I relaunch it on.
Before he answered the question, we really want to hear
after the question, right?
Okay. Go ahead, Stereo.
Okay.
Come on, man. We want to hear this. He didn't discount medical science.
I thought you was gonna mute off. So basically what I'm saying is that you have to look outside of this and look at the whole plan of this, right? So it's bigger than just this medical thing. The same people who make this medical thing, the same one who put the diseases and get the antidotes and all this kind of stuff. It's about global war. It's about the global, the whole taking over the globe, man. And putting people in place.
Brother. Just say you don't know. Just say you don't know.
Then you asked me. I thought you was muting out.
No, because I'm saying medical advice. Medical advice.
You have to understand the vaccine is a synthetic thing that they put in your body, the strand of your DNA. That's the first thing you need to know. So you could be tracked on the satellite, so they can know when you taking the shit. Even
Stereo. Watch your language, and we need to know what you actually have.
Yeah, he's not going to answer the question. We have these doctors.
Don't take the vaccine, because if you do, you become damn near robot. That's
we know you're saying don't take it.
Can you please tell him that we with him right now? We just want to know, what is it that he's taking and recommending for the Black community?
Absolutely nothing, because it don't exist. It ain't nothing touching me with it. I ain't been affected by none of that, because it don't exist. I'm taking nothing for it.
So you're not eating? Okay, I got you.
Why would you ask me a stupid question like, what am I taking for? Taking for what?
All right, thanks a lot, brother.
All right. Okay.
You proved your propensity of understanding science. Thanks a lot, buddy.
All right. So, Audrey, so what I understand that we're going to do, and I'd like to thank everybody for joining us. I'd like to thank Dr. Lynn Milliner. Hopefully we can get back to the film
Can I hear her response to that though?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm not responding today. I'm not today.
Yeah,
not
please
today.
don't.
Not today.
She's sitting out, yo. Look at her face.
Not today. Not today.
All right.
Today is not that day. But thank you for having me. I enjoyed it, and please call on me anytime, Chill. I mean,
all right. Okay, no doubt. Thank you for showing up.
Oh, you're welcome.
Dr. Bonita Cole, thank you very much. Appreciate you all the time, and for taking my other calls when I'm just calling you to say, okay, Doc, check this out. You actually answer the phone and laugh at me, but we appreciate you. Thank you for always showing up and bringing your crew to any of my platforms.
Yeah, we brought the crew today.
Yeah. So we appreciate you and send my thank you to Dr. Leleka Doonquah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. All right. So what are we doing now, guys? How am I doing this?
Yeah, so you're gonna have to because you're the host and it's your accounts here, you're gonna have to stop broadcasting live on Facebook and then redo it and broadcast on your YouTube.
Okay, so
we'll still be here.
Hit the stop and then hit the
stop the live stream. So everybody, I'm stopping the live stream. Here we go. Boom.
Okay.
All right. So then now, how will all the people who want to get at stereo?
we're still in Zoom, so you just.
I'm saying the people that were in the Facebook chat.
No, just start start the show.
All right.
Just start.
Hey, Chill.
Yes. Hold on. No.
Yeah.
Let me start.
Let's get this done first. Yeah.
Let me get live on YouTube.
You let me down, stereo. You let me down, bro.
Come on, this ass, bro.
I get the people. You start the show. Because I want to show something when we're having a scientific conversation. What should stereo do that he never does?
All right, here we
you
go.
You let me down, bro. You let me down.
Okay, looks like you're live now on YouTube.
All right, I'm waiting for it to be.
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Okay, let me turn the volume down on mine.
And I'll copy we can copy the streaming link for YouTube if you want to put that on your Facebook page, if those folks want to follow.
Shawn got all the people that's trying to get at stereo.
Okay.
I got
You see how good I look? That's that CMOS and that
So you do take something. You just
see how you did that, yo.
Now you wait to the doctor's leave before you say CMOS.
Right. See, I appreciate that, yo.
That vinegar and all that good stuff.
Nah.
So let me say this.
Nah.
What Ankh tried to do was twist my word. What I said to the doctors is that you don't know nothing until you're taught, right? So if you're taught something, you're learning the way of that text.
Nobody
that doesn't mean because you're taught and you get that degree that you're not taught to be a killer. It don't mean that you're not taught. You taught the ways of that medicine, but that medicine and what they're doing is actually will kill you. But they don't tell them that. They say, okay, this is what you need to learn for the medical, this, da, 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 da. But they don't tell them that this actually is a way to kill you. It's a lot of things that they do in the medical system. One thing about doctors in hospitals, they're great diagnosers. They have machines that will diagnose you and know exactly what's going on with you. They take your blood every day. They do all that and analyze what's going on with you. And you know what? I believe in the back of my mind that they can fix you, but they don't because it's a financial thing. But they give you a pill to keep coming back for a pill.
Okay, hold on. So let me start this. Let me just everybody knows. And let me, okay. I want to stop the recording.
Hey, chill. Did he not do that, yo? Did he not just ignore that question, yo?
Yeah. Okay. You know what? Y'all do this a lot. Should I stop the recording that I had on the initial?
It's
and
already
start?
stopped.
No, the recording is not stopped. The recording.
Stop the recording. Stop the Zoom recording so
Right,
you can
that's
go
what
in.
I'm saying.
So you can upload it to your YouTube like you always do after.
Right. Okay.
And Ankh, I did answer your question. I said nothing